Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income, no matter how long you live. Call 888-509-2228. 888-509-2228. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, North Carolina. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial professional before making an investment.
Happy holidays from your friends at DJ's Dugout. Nick Handley here. DJ's is truly an Omaha tradition to gather with family and friends during the holidays to watch sports, enjoy delicious food, and have a great time. And a DJ's gift card is a great holiday gift idea, too. Thank you for voting DJ's your #1 sports bar again this year in the Best of Omaha Awards. DJ's Dugout is locally and Vietnam veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Since 1972, family-owned and locally roasted Host Coffee Service has been roasting the finest coffee for businesses and restaurants. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com. Here's a little Christmas tip. Never ask Santa for adult beverages. Seriously, can you imagine the legal implications of carrying quality, locally brewed Nebraska beer or cider while flying a sleigh? So if you want your family and friends to gift you some Nebraska brewed awesomeness, ask and ye shall receive. Your local Nebraska Brewers Guild wants you to know that local brewers are currently working on special seasonal brews to make your holiday get-togethers merry and bright. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the Nebraska Craft Brewers Guild.
At Dingman's, we are working for you before you even walk through our doors. Our level of commitment to industry involvement and continuing education is second to none. Through our ongoing involvement, we stay current with all the best repair procedures for the ever-changing vehicle. This includes working with auto and paint manufacturers, as well as insurance companies. Our repair facilities are set up with the latest repair and technology. Our ongoing work is to ensure that when you do need us, we are able to provide you with the safest, best repair possible. Because at Dingman's, we would rather be the best than apologize for anything less. Dingmans.com.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here with Dr. Lance Kugler of Kugler Vision. You know, it's been 5.5 years since I had my procedure done at Kugler Vision. I remember going in for the eye analysis and finding out, hey, there's something other than LASIK.
Well, I think it's important to have a full analysis of the eye so that you can make a good recommendation. A lot of the patients that we see have been told over the years, sometimes a long time ago or sometimes more recently, that there isn't an option for them. And I think that's just because they haven't had as in-depth of analysis as they need to know for sure what their options are.
And I think one of the coolest things about that entire process was how comfortable I felt. And I know as I've talked to other people who had procedures done, they said the same thing, whether it was the consultation, whether it was the day of the procedure, all of those questions were answered. And like there was genuine care for me as an individual person.
We all have the same goal. We want you to see as well as you possibly can.
Schedule an eye analysis today, 402-558-2211, or you can visit their website, kuglervision.com.
Make the right call, fans. The rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Referees. 1620 The Zone. Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Dad, dig this. It's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Morning, Sharp and Handley. 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. No Sharp, but Jimmy, as always.
Sorry.
That's okay. It is Gary's making his way to your home state, to your neck of the woods, to the Lone Star State. It is Maverick basketball tonight and then Saturday in the great state of Texas. We've got Redemption Hump Day for Nebraska hoops as well. We've got where will the Learjet take Nebraska football to next, with a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if it's a big surprise, but it continues a theme that the Nebraska coaching staff continues to leave no stone unturned when talking about quarterback, which amazing just a week ago, exactly a week ago, that we had Matt Rule making waves by announcing what it costs and a breath of fresh air from the new guy compared to the old guy. You know, they always say, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. I don't know about that with the NCAA president. I don't know if you have a...
Thank you, Rick. That's what I need. I needed some feedback, and Rick gave me that. So.
Oh, okay. Morning, Rick. Usually the first one to tee off in the stream yard, or in the stream as well.
Let me know if it's fixed, guys.
Was there something going on audio-wise?
Well, I'm fiddling with the studio camera and taking it off and taking it on to see what we can do. And
we had a meeting yesterday.
Well, and when I took it off, it took the sound out, so that's why they said no sound. So we're back. Well, we were here. They're back. So
I just saw the as I pulled up the stream, I just saw it said "Hello, Babar."
I thought you'd like that.
Hello, Babar.
Yeah.
Stream audio. It's back. All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Good dude. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that. So yes, good morning. It is a.
What are you doing? You guys should do this before. Well, some of these things you have to figure out as you start.
Yeah.
So in order to play with it, I can't play with it before. Well, that just sounds bad if you turned it on.
It does, yeah. There needs to be context to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it's warm, it's. Anyway.
You mentioned dry heat. Are you a static electricity person in your home right now?
No, surprisingly not.
I noticed it's picked up in my house. It means our humidifier needs to get ramped up.
It'll pick up when we get one of those really big cold snaps, the kind that just hurt your face and make you have to sit down to pee for a week because it's so cold. That's when the static will really crank up. But right now, no, surprisingly not.
Okay. Yeah, I started noticing that. I was telling Jimmy when I got here that, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners, whether you're on the stream, Rick and Jeremy, again, shouts, or anybody listening in the traditional method as well. If you've had a young boy or girl in your household, at some point, I guess it's inevitable that when they're sleeping in their own room, that they either hear scary sounds or they think there are the, quote, monsters in the room. We are now going through that phase of life, which means mom and dad, and especially mom, because she's the trooper. She's the one that knows that I have to get up the earliest. So anytime Reese comes into the bedroom complaining about seeing monsters, She usually gets him settled back down, gets him back into the it's no longer a crib now. He's got his own bed. Gets him back into the bed, and hopefully he will not return into our bedroom at any point. That was not the case last night. It was 3 times while my wife is dealing with a pretty good cold. So she's miserable. I was trying to help her out with that as much as I could. And let's just say everyone always, I'm sure ever since you started this job, people are like, hey, what time do you get up? What time do you get up? You know, it's always the most popular question. I'll tell you this. I don't usually get up at 3:30. Usually if I'm up at 3:30, that means I got another half hour sleep tops. And then, yeah. So putting them down at about
you're more
3:30.
tired when you wake up if you go back to sleep.
Yeah. And like, what is that extra 10 minutes going to really do for me anyway? So put him to bed, took a shower, went downstairs, heard him pitter-pattering back upstairs. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
He's pacing.
Oh, he was. So then I went.
I can't believe it. Why would they put the Patriots and Steelers on Thursday night?
I had to
damn streaming.
He's not happy about that. I usually think once I get him to sleep, no matter what I said right before he was falling asleep, he won't remember. Well, I try to make a deal with him. I said, hey, you got to go to sleep. The monsters are fine. I'm going to keep the door slightly open, and they won't bother you at all. And a lot of those monsters are really nice. They're just looking over you.
Well, yeah, one has one eye, and then the other one is a big blue friend, and they're just there to make you scream to get power. But then eventually they decide and discover that they can make you laugh and get more power.
Yeah, sometimes they enter our world. It just happens. And I told him that I would go and see him before I left. I never do that, by the way, because if I do that, then he's going to wake up and he's not going to go back to bed. I was doing anything I could for him to let me leave the room and for him to actually go to sleep. So I'm watching the monitor, my shower, getting ready. It looks like he's out cold. And then I noticed that as I get downstairs, I'm hearing something. I'm like, oh, it can't be my wife. She can't be back up. And I go upstairs, and sure as heck, I can hear him in our bedroom again, trying to harass my wife. And yeah, it's been a morning. I'll just say that. It's been a morning. I feel really bad for my wife.
What about him? That means he hasn't slept well.
Yeah. I'm pretty convinced he can go off 2 hours of sleep and be fine.
So he's going to be a coach one day.
Oh, he'll be a cranky guy today. Like, I feel bad for the folks at daycare.
Morning, Reese. What's good about it?
Yeah, exactly. What's good about it?
Anybody have a Camel? Preferably Turkish Gold.
I just need black coffee right now. Just make it black.
This whole country's going down the crapper. No. Let me go play with some Legos.
Sorry, kids. I didn't sleep last night. Yeah, no. I feel like that it has like the opposite effect on him. Probably has more energy somehow. I don't know. But
I mean, that's a good thing for now.
I would say, remember what it was like to be 3, but I don't. I don't remember that. So
accidents. They happened.
Yeah. So that's that. So yeah, coffee, feeling
powering through. Look at that big ass cup. That's the thing. That's that's not water.
Going to get a lot of use today. A lot of use. That is full of coffee, and it is much needed. But we are happy you are with us. We've got some tracking to do, and this came out last night. Now I'm almost going to work from most recent to where we started in the quarterback transfer portal. And that is the news last night that Kyle McCord, yes, that Kyle McCord, is actually had a visit from Marcus Satterfield.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was 2 quarterbacks yesterday. You had Blake Shapen earlier in the day. Now, we were tracing that one. We were tracking that one.
Right. I went to Magnolia, had a cupcake and a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in Waco. We had wheels down, wheels in the ground in Waco right around 9:15.
Hit up Whataburger for lunch.
Yeah. So, maybe that's the bigger question is it was an undisclosed location.
You know, Matt Rule misses him some Whataburger.
Oh, hell yeah. I you know what? That's one thing I've never had an opportunity to talk too much to Matt Rule, but to ask Matt Rule about his favorite joints in Waco. Like, was he a Magnolia supporter?
See, these are the things I'd like to know. Like, wait, you want to talk about Baylor? No, I don't care about the football. We know you won games there. Who cares about that?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Where'd you go eat?
Yeah, I'd be very
And then
curious.
you transition that to, so what do you like to eat in Lincoln? We don't want people to be like, oh, that's where Matt Rule goes. We're going to go wait for him. It's like, no, we're just curious that what are your hangouts?
Well, and for head coaches too, sometimes you want to keep maybe a little bit of a lower profile, and that's where you stumble into some hidden gems where not everybody knows about them.
Where you get a hot beef sandwich.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
With Ed.
Yeah. Ed's got some work to do. But yes, it was reported, and it first reported by On3 and Husker Online, that Kyle McCord was meeting with Marcus Satterfield. Now, again, this is the whole flight tracker part of this, which is funny because I shouldn't say a year ago, but it was a little more than a year ago, and we were trying to do flight tracker during the actual season itself of 2022 to see who Trev and company were meeting with as far as a potential head coach. Now,
the football is a lost cause.
Yeah, we get to do it with the quarterbacks and the transfer market. But if you're now sort of doing the rundown of all the quarterbacks that Nebraska has met with, it is, well, you go all the way back to Will Howard. You go, and that kind of that started the day, or not started the day, but that started the quarterback meetings. So you had started with Will Howard at Kansas State. Then it was Sam Leavitt, who, he confirmed he talked to both Brian Christopherson and Steve Sipple. And then
Sam Leavitt did?
Yep, Sam Leavitt did.
Nice.
And then you got Blake Shapen and Kyle McCord yesterday.
All coming to Nebraska. All of them. To back up Jeff Sims.
But isn't it funny that it was exactly a week ago? And this made national headlines when Matt Rule said, just so everyone knows where we're at, to get a quarterback out of the transfer portal, it's $1 million to $2 million.
There were some people that were rubbed the wrong way by that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated the honesty. It's like, I'm not BSing you. This is what's going on. No, it can't be that much. Yeah, it's probably more in a lot of places.
Right. And these guys, it's interesting with all four of these so far. And that's where we're at right now. Now, there might be some other conversations that have taken place with other transfer quarterbacks that we don't know about. More to come. I would assume more to come. But all of them kind of have a different, I guess you could call it the popular thing, the NIL valuation. Like, wouldn't Will Howard probably be close to like the $1 million quarterback? He would be someone that would probably,
I suppose.
Yeah, just given his experience and his stats, like the guy's a winner. Guy can ball a little bit. Kyle McCord, sample size a little bit smaller, but comes from Ohio State, was the starter. His only loss was to Michigan. Now,
and Nebraska lost to Michigan, so they have that in common.
That they do. Now, coming off of quarterbacks like Justin Fields, then C.J. Stroud, does Kyle McCord fit that type of performance and excitement at the position? No, not as much. Numbers are not nearly what they were. But again, you're looking at a smaller sample size at Ohio State with 1 year as a starter. Now, McCord and Shapen have at least 1 year of eligibility left. Will Howard also. Now, Will Howard would have 2. And then Sam Leavitt has 4.
Well, Will Howard seems to have that sweet spot.
Right. And
plus, it's a cheaper move, short drive.
Well, and I think all of them are like Blake Shapen. I don't know what, that's not $1 million quarterback. No. At least as far as
I would argue even Will Howard isn't, but the market may drive it as such.
Well, and that's true. And I was looking at these NIL valuations that On3 has, and they're interesting. Like the one that fetches the most, given where he currently was in Ohio State, and then it kind of looks at Instagram followers and your social media followers and how impactful. Like, again, it's a valuation. It's not necessarily what you made, but it's like the valuation that you have with considering all those factors. Kyle McCord would have been the highest. I think he was like right around his NIL valuation was like a little over 600,000 to 700,000. Then it was Will Howard. And again, Will Howard, maybe decent enough followers, but the market in Manhattan, Kansas compared to Columbus, Ohio is different. Blah, blah, blah. Blake Shapen and Sam Leavitt were, sub $500,000 NIL valuations. But that doesn't mean that's what they would get paid or that's what it would take to do business with them. But it is an interesting number when you kind of look at that. But I do think that that's probably, if you want to look at how that varies, I think you could also look at probably what it might cost as far as an NIL deal to get one of those quarterbacks. But I go back to what Matt Rule said. And you're right, Jimmy. Everyone kind of took it as, well, what? Now Nebraska's going to go.
He said something that made you uncomfortable, and I respected the honesty, because if you think you're uncomfortable, what do you think these coaches are? Like, really? That's the game?
Yeah.
And think of Matt Rule. When he was last in the college game, there was no NIL. So now he's kind of learning, and he's probably hearing some of this and be like, wow, really? Well, I mean, not that he didn't know, but at the same time, he's just like, damn.
He never said, well, we're not doing that.
He just said, this is what it's going to be.
He stated a fact. It's not an opinion. It's a fact of what it costs to get a quarterback that is probably going to be an immediate impact, an immediate starter out of the transfer portal. And I don't think that should have been overly shocking. You've got incoming freshmen, not a lot, but some incoming freshmen that are already making multi-million-dollar, or at least are signed on to do multi-million-dollar NIL deals. But that comment essentially made people think that Nebraska was going to go into the dollar bin, that they were going to go bargain hunting. And maybe they will, but the beauty about where Nebraska is when it comes to how they're positioned with name, image, likeness is that if they find somebody where there's mutual interest and there is a price that they're okay with as a coaching staff, that they feel like, you know what, this is fair. I think we can make this work. We know the value of bringing this quarterback in is going to immediately upgrade our offense. Then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, does Nebraska feel that way? Again, you start with Will Howard. Is there that mutual interest right there where it was interesting? I think we were all kind of surprised that they actually made the trip to Manhattan, Kansas to talk with Will Howard, where he's being courted by so many other schools.
They should have taken me with him. I know a good coffee shop.
Well, the only I guess, area that I'm familiar with is Aggieville.
That's by Aggieville.
It's been a while since I've been there.
But see,
too.
I'm not a complete kid or lush. Like, it was a coffee shop. That's
good for you.
Good pastries.
Okay.
I mean, I know other places you can have fun, but yeah, that's nice.
I don't know if Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield were looking to go to K-State and just like tear it up.
That's what I say. Go to a coffee shop.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean,
are you that guy that used to coach at Baylor? No.
If they're attacking, like, different states, different cities, twice in one day, I mean, you got no time to waste. You got to be on your game.
You need to know what you're ordering. Sit down, get your stuff, and
because apparently they pulled a 2-a-day.
Yeah.
Got Blake Shapen and Kyle McCord yesterday.
Lunch, dinner, maybe breakfast. That depends what time they got there.
I'm intrigued by.
I bet they got up at 3:30.
If this is we've got to do our due diligence and look at every person out there, because other than Blake Shapen at Baylor, as far as being at Baylor, none of them have any type of real connection with Matt Rule or the previous coaches. And that was another thing that we were all very curious about, is when you start to hear, and it's inevitable that you would, even though I think this coaching staff is trying to keep things as quiet as possible, it's sort of the impossible task of keeping that thing completely on the wraps, because things are going to get out. Players that visit are going to maybe mention, if they get offered, they're going to mention. They're going to give you their top 5 or top 6 of who they're deciding amongst. It's the same thing as traditional recruiting. So you're not going to be able to keep that completely on the wraps. I'm curious how many more we learn about even this week and what the timetable will be, because I thought Gary brought up I thought it was a good point, and probably in an ideal world, it would be the best case scenario for Nebraska. And that is being able, you don't settle. And that's the other important thing right now, is you don't settle for somebody right now. Yes, Nebraska needs a quarterback out of the transfer portal, but there needs to be some priorities there of what you're looking for. And again, what you're going to pay, but more than anything, what you're looking for, who is going to best suit the current personnel. And can you start to transition? Not even start to transition. You need to transition. Not even ease into it, but it needs to have a pretty solid look of what the offense will be for years to come. out of all the guys that you've talked to and then the guys that you plan to talk to, who gives you that best opportunity? Price tag be damned. Who gives you that best opportunity? And can you lock that in quick? Because we were talking about this off the air, is that I think there's definitely an ideal timetable for Nebraska to get that done soon. But for the guys that I think that they're currently talking to, that we know of, between Howard, Levitt, Shapen, and McCord, do you think any of those guys, Jimmy, are going to be, yep, let's go. Let's make this decision right now? No.
You need to see your options.
Yeah. And sure, there's a financial element to that if you're that player, but you're the pretty girl at the ball right now. And so you're going to have
1:00.
And you're going to have a lot of different options.
Busch Light is flowing.
As much as Nebraska needs to find the option that is going to give them the best chance to elevate that offense, those quarterbacks are looking for the situation that is going to best help them get to the next level. We already know that was what Sam Levitt's goal is. Sam Levitt wants to play in the league. Again, he said this. So what's Nebraska provide from that standpoint? What does Nebraska provide with the current personnel that they have? What projects to be next year's roster? And this is where I go back to Nebraska in a perfect world, being able to get a player that does have multiple years eligibility, can be developed a little bit, but also can get locked in. So then you can start to look at the rest of the offense and say, all right, now we got the most important piece. Now he's going to compete for the starting job, but we got the most important piece right here. What wide receiver can we attract because of that? Again, hey, Sam, and again, I'm just using Sam Levitt because he's got the most eligibility out of all these guys, and I'm just using him as an example because he's the one who actually talked to reporters. Hey, Sam, who do you have connections with too? Who do you know that's in the portal right now? Who'd you play high school ball with? Who did you do some camps with that you have a good relationship with that you know that is in the portal that you think would be a good addition as a wide receiver or as a running back? And you kind of go from there. Or you start to use those quarterback pieces as a way to attract other guys on the offensive side. Because, yeah, there's probably going to be an addition. I shouldn't say probably, but it wouldn't shock me if Nebraska maybe looked in the transfer portal for a linebacker. But make no mistake about it, the true emphasis is going to be on the offensive side. So you want to get that guy in place as quickly as possible, see if he's got any connections that you can tap into, but more than anything, you can say, okay, yeah, we did add a quarterback to the room. So you don't have to just say, why would I come to Nebraska when I've seen Chubba Purdy play? I've seen Heinrich Haarberg play. I don't even want to talk about Seven because he's not going to be a part of the quarterback mix anyway. Why would I want to come to Nebraska? Well, I'm glad you asked. Did you get a chance to watch Blake Shapen at Baylor? Did you get a chance to watch Sam Levitt at Michigan State or know about Sam Levitt? These are guys. This is a guy that we have in the mix now. I don't know if you saw that we pretty much have him. It's going to be official soon, but yeah, he's going to be the guy that is going to be having the leg up in the quarterback competition. And at the very least, he's going to elevate a guy like Chubba Purdy when it comes to competition. We're going to have that position in a lot better space than we did a year ago. That's the pitch. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. That's what you can count on when it comes to the Nebraska's quarterback position, but that's the pitch right there. That's why you want to get that guy in there early. But again, it's just funny. You go back a week ago where it sounded like, well, I mean, who the heck is Nebraska going to get? They're just looking for some junior college guys. They're looking for some FCS guys. They're looking for basically players that know about name, image, likeness, but haven't really had a chance to ultimately cash in on it. Well, so far you're looking at at least two very well known quarterbacks that are in the transfer portal. Two names that when they went into the transfer portal, that was breaking news. Now, Sam Levitt's announcement into the transfer portal was a little bit more subdued just because, again, the guy didn't play that much. Still very young. Blake Shapen, yeah, a little bit. Obviously, people remember him from the Big 12 championship game when he played in that and played really well in that. But that wasn't this huge splash. You got those two that you've talked to, and now you've got two of somewhat bigger names Not bigger. Probably. Would you agree that Will Howard and Kyle McCord would be in the top 8?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, there's probably a case to be made in top 5.
The thing I like the most, even though I said, well, I don't know if he's $1 million player, but the market drives him up there. I think Will Howard would be the perfect fit because he's a 2-year guy.
Yep. And that's.
I think you want a 2-year guy.
At the very least, yes. At the very least, you want a 2-year
rushed.
guy.
You know, if Danny Kalin's going to be your guy, you don't have to rush him.
Right.
You can teach him, bring him along the right way, and then even have that veteran presence to help.
Well, and when we said Casey and then Jeff Sims, and I brought this up yesterday, both of those guys were 2-year guys. And I remember the conversation always was, well, if he's only here a year, then that probably worked out really well for Nebraska because that means
he was good.
He was good, and then he's going on to the NFL. We didn't factor in if that person didn't return because he wasn't going to be a part either by performance or what they thought they brought in. Now, the Casey one is interesting because I always felt like, given Casey's age, if he had a highly productive year, now remember, injuries kind of impacted that as well, but if he had a highly productive year, started every game, that he would be a 1-year guy, and then he'd be looking to go to the NFL, at least trying, because, again, he's been in college for a long time. That wasn't the case. He was sort of ushered out and didn't have that complete season that I think he hoped to have had. Then we thought about Jeff Sims, same thing. Okay, if he's only here a year, then that means he's put himself in a position to get some looks in the NFL. And a lot of us did not factor in why he maybe wouldn't be there the following year because it would be that bad. And that's why we are where we are right now with talking about the transfer portal and quarterbacks that Nebraska coach and staff is continued to meet with. But again, if you're just tuning in, the most recent one was at an undisclosed location late yesterday with former Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord.
I wonder where the undisclosed location was.
I don't know.
And where?
Probably Ryan Day's house. He facilitated it.
They went to Columbus.
Yep. There's a lot of options there. So I don't know. But we are going to get into – okay, so we gave you the names. And I do want to, a little bit later on, get into what each one brings. Again, we'll look at the eligibility years, NIL, what it might cost, the numbers that you probably know about, maybe the numbers you should know about, because I know all of you, just like myself, any quarterback that is brought up that is linked to Nebraska, either going back to when Nebraska started, looking to when they finally get to the last one that they talked to, you're going to look at one number only, and that is the interceptions. That's the turnover. Can they take care of the football? But there's other things that we got to look at when it comes to that as well. As I mentioned, it is a big night for Nebraska basketball. And I know it's just Nebraska at Minnesota. It's not a great Minnesota team.
Most hated rivals.
But it is Nebraska trying to change the narrative. We'll get into that. There was some good college basketball last night, including some Big East teams. You had a former Creighton Blue Jay go off last night as well. And also, I want to get more into that Division I proposal that new president Charlie Baker.
When the machines are becoming self-aware, this is it.
Yeah, this is it. There is a lot to this, and there is a lot to take away from the new leadership, I think, of the NCAA with this proposal as well. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about not only Creighton's victory against Nebraska, Creighton with the week off. They get back in action this week. Matt DeMarinis will be joining us right at 8 o'clock, and then we'll also get some transfer portal thoughts and even never too early to start talking maybe a little college baseball, just because Evan Bland is also on the college baseball beat
and
for
just
Nebraska.
Because you're being a little biased here, so as you should.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to talk about it.
Well,
but also it's going to be warm today and tomorrow, so you start thinking about it.
Well, they get into finals, then they will adjourn, and then as soon as they come back, as soon as the students come back on January 22nd, you're in the season, baby.
Man, that's
weird. You
weird.
are in the season. So, but yes, Evan
College
Bland,
World Series just a few weeks away.
We haven't had a chance to talk with Evan in quite a while, so we will catch up with him at 9 o'clock. And, of course, our guests always powered by the Rooferys, John Higgins Weather Guard. You can also weigh in on the conversation if you want to hit us up on the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally. Hit me up. You can email me at Handley at 1620thezone.com or Jimmy at 1620thezone.com.
Spelled correctly, by the way.
It is. No I either. That's a Y. That is a Y.
Just the way the good Lord intended it to be spelled.
That's right. The 42-degree hotline.
If you get a text any minute now.
The Source by your mom's house, 951-1620, and the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. I am at Nick Handley 1620. When we come back, we'll get some thoughts on this new Division I proposal and what it means. A couple things mentioned. There is one thing that I like that was part of the proposal, but I don't know if I like what was at least proposed execution-wise when it comes to incentive, this trust fund incentive. We'll do that and much more as we get things rolling here on a Wednesday. Glad you're with us. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley.
It's an NFL doubleheader on Sports USA. And first, we head to the Windy City as Goff, Gibbs, and the Detroit Lions roar into Chicago to face Justin Fields and the Bears. Then it's off to Kansas City as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills come into Arrowhead to try to outduel the Chiefs with that dynamic duo of Kelsey and Mahomes. It's the Lions at the Bears, then the Bills at the Super Champion Chiefs. This Sunday on Sports USA.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Start your engines.
Joe's Indoor Karting in Council Bluffs is off the charts crazy. Joe's Karting is fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing action at over 40 miles per hour. The only speed restriction on these karts is how good you are. Joe's Karting is located just a couple of blocks north of Bass Pro Shop and directly east of AMC Theater in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Go watch a movie. Come race at Joe's. Planning a bachelor party, graduation party, or just a night out with friends? Go to Joe's. Remember, Joe's Karting is your place to race.
Need a feast to feed the family? Godfather's Pizza has you covered. Build your own feast. Choose a medium specialty pizza, a medium one-topping pizza, and a side, like my new bacon ranch cheese sticks. Freshly baked, loaded with mozzarella cheese, tangy ranch, and topped with an abundance of bacon. Do yourself a favor and build your feast today. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
Wendy's Peppermint Frosty and Frosty Cream Cold Brew make the perfect gift for anyone in your life, especially for you. Yeah, this year you're sitting on your own lap and getting yourself what you want. Finally. And now every day this season, unlock 20% off your total when you get any small, medium, or large Frosty in the Wendy's app. So order something from your own wish list this year.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's with app offer and registration. Applies to menu items only. Taxes and fees excluded.
It started in Lincoln. Now it's in Omaha. It's Muchachos. At the heart of Muchachos is family. Muchachos uses new Mexican flavors with smoked barbecue passed down from generations. This flavor sensation is called New Mexican Barbecue Fusion. Come get your eat on and nosh on slow smoked pork brisket, chicken, queso, and mac. Try the fan favorite Hatch Mac Burrito with a craft beer or margarita. Muchachos is south of the Old Market at 1285 South 13th Street, or check them out at yomuchacho.com.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
Here's a fact that doesn't seem to get mentioned enough. Owning a home actually helps you build personal wealth. Homeownership is a huge factor in building personal wealth. There are some naysayers who say it's too expensive, but rates will come down, and when they do, the competition is going to be fierce. One financial statistic shows that the net worth of those that own a home is 40 times greater than those that rent. So maybe take a few minutes to call me at Mortgage Specialists to go through the reasons why, even though the current market is different, why it's always a good time to buy a home to build your net worth. I'm Brent Rasmussen. Call me at Mortgage Specialists and we can show you all the details. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
Shop smarter online for your next vehicle with Buy Now from Woodhouse. Car buying 100% online from your local trusted auto partner. Easily compare hundreds of hand-picked, safety-inspected cars, trucks, and SUVs features, capabilities, and payments. Conveniently apply for financing and complete your paperwork for purchase 100% online, anytime from anywhere. Plus, we'll deliver it to your driveway. Woodhouse, delivering a better way to car buy online with Buy Now.
I'm former Husker Terry Keneally.
And I'm former Husker Titus Adams.
Titus and I used to sack quarterbacks, but now we're fighting for the children of East Omaha.
Terry and I are on the board of the Q's Fund, which supports the Q's school system, made up of Holy Name, All Saints, and Sacred Heart School, which I am a proud graduate of.
Our students receive a values-based education with the family support they need.
And they go on to graduate high school at a 96% rate.
Learn more about our children at qschools.org.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Some Big East teams in action last night. Creighton off for the week. They're back in action this weekend. Going to get into Nebraska and their matchup tonight with Minnesota. It is a get-right game, and they try to change the narrative. Not just change the narrative from Sunday. That was bad, but if we're to believe that this can be an exciting season, if this is a different team from some of the previous teams of Fred Hoiberg when it comes to the ultimate result, tonight could be at least a small indication of that. We'll get to that a little bit later. I want to go to the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally.
Hi, Doug.
This isn't from Doug, though.
I know, but hi, Doug.
But hi, Doug, anyway. Visit Doug. Call Doug. Call Doug right now. He'll answer your phone.
First ring, remember?
Answer his phone. KG hits us up and says, has NIL changed the landscape of recruitment?
Great question.
I think the short answer is yes.
Because it's now
100%.
an added tool,
added
part to the conversation. You know, the stuff that Ricky Rowe went to Pete Bell about the duffel bag with the $70,000, that's now common.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids, we bought a tractor.
This is where, when I think about, we got in this conversation, and I thought it was a good conversation yesterday about how much attention we pay to this time of the year now. And I can now go back to 3 Decembers, including this one, where we were sort of counting down the days of when the portal officially opened. And it was a very similar feeling, Jimmy, that I have when I'm counting down the days from the legal tampering period to the official opening of free agency in the NFL. And I know a lot of people want to point to college football in a similar way and saying it is essentially free agency. And look, you're probably not all that wrong. But whether you like it or not, there is much more excitement, adrenaline, and a lot more following of those developments than I think there is in traditional high school recruiting. And there was a time that on signing day in February, before we even had the early signing period, on that first Wednesday in February, that everybody was dialed into their team to see what they would do, where you needed to know about how many stars that player had. You wanted to know about what type of impact. Now here in Nebraska, then you always, and they still do have the signing day press conference. You wanted to hear what the head coach, he could finally speak specifically about each player because they are officially signed, and you could hear about maybe they might let you in on some of their early thoughts and plans for said player. And it was your way of, in college football, the closest thing you had to draft day. Because as we know in the NFL draft too, you're a big Cowboys fan, I'm a big Bears fan. You see that anytime you get this draft pick, whether it's a first-round draft pick, second-round draft pick, maybe you get a multiple second, third, fourth, whatever, you always want to project what that player is going to do for your team and for what your team has when it comes to needs. And it's exactly the same thing for college football. Now, your draft class compared to your recruitment class are usually different when it comes to numbers, obviously. But it's still one of those non-exact sciences of, well, okay, I saw what this kid did at high school. Now the competition's ramping up. Now we're going to try to project how he can fit into not only this football program, this locker room, this campus and making that transition from a high school student to a college student, but also how's he going to fit into this conference? All of those things are a huge wild card.
Matter.
And they all do. And some
for the school, but also for the kid.
Right. Because some of those student athletes transition better in certain areas where they make the adjustment academically.
This is why Nebraska has to get it right, because you're a quarterback. You're looking at like, why am I going to go there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not exactly lighting the world on fire here.
Well, exactly. And then now, if you want to kind of compare the NFL to college, because I know the original question was, has NIL changed recruiting? Well, what happens when you get drafted in the first and second round? You get draft slots, your money changes, but there's money. Okay. You're professional. All right. That's the goal of having a great college. I know this is breaking news, but if you have a great college football career, the goal is to play in the NFL and get paid a lot of money for it. Well, that's the beauty of college football in a way right now is there is the ability to have more retention, to not see guys leave immediately for the pros, because you do have a chance to stay a year or two and be able to still cash in on your value. When it comes to recruiting, and I don't know if KG's talking more about transfer portal or traditional recruiting or both, but again, the question and the answer is the same. Yes, NIL has that impact, because as much as you hear about some of these players that are going to be signing with Nebraska in December, there are going to be certain ones that you're already probably in your mind, even though you're probably not going to hear anything, in your mind, you're going to put a bit of a price tag next to it of some of those freshmen that can come in right now and immediately impact Nebraska, or at least be in the competition for it. And we know how, a guy like Dylan Raiola, okay, if Nebraska were to have gotten Dylan Raiola, what that would have cost Nebraska. There are certain quarterbacks, 5-star guys, 4-star guys that look like they're going to come right in and they're going to be a part of the competition. Arch Manning's one of those guys. Remember when Ewers was at Ohio State, everybody was just beside themselves when they heard that he was signing for a multi-million-dollar, what was it? It was some type of drink or something. That was multi-million dollars, and people are losing their mind. That's not the norm. I don't want to make it sound like that's the norm. But yes, part of the decision when making, whether it be Nebraska or some other school, is you are looking at how well positioned they are NIL-wise. Even if they're not saying, hey, you're going to make this much money from day one, you'd at least get a chance to see the landscape, and you can have the conversations with how are they going to market your name, image, likeness. And so, yeah, it without question has a major impact when it comes to even the high school recruiting. I want to get to Iowa JD's thoughts on the quarterbacks. Let's quickly go to the 42-degree hotline. Say good morning to Gary. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Nick. Damn good. Hey, in conjunction with what you guys are talking about, would having this trust fund, I guess, would it slow down the transfer portal numbers? That would be my first question. And second, I want you guys to comment on something I heard last night watching Big Red Wrap Up from a member of their staff that was astonished the fact that these kids are asking for money to even visit on their visits.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that, because that shocked me when I heard that last night on Big Red Wrap Up.
Yeah. Gary, apprient the call.
Thanks, buddy, guys. Love your show.
Appreciate it, man. I'll start with where
that almost turned me off.
Yeah, and again, that is where we are. And this kind of goes back to KG's question about.
And I'm not against paying the player, but that's when you come to school and play for your school, not just to come visit.
Well, and that's I kind of joked about this yesterday too. And I didn't necessarily think it was maybe Sam Levitt, maybe it was Will Howard, or probably a Will Howard or Kyle McCord as far as what they stand to gain financially at their next stop. Is it essentially like a cover charge?
Yeah.
In order to get through the door.
2 to stand, 4 to sit.
Right. It's a little funky reggae party, $5 at the door. Give me a Finsky. No, it's a little bit more than that.
Good.
A little bit more than that, but that's the thing.
Hungry all of a sudden.
Gary's right. It's crazy to think, like, there are certain things that I can accept as a college football fan and someone that I don't want to completely talk about the more pure days of college football. This is where we are. It's not going away. The toothpaste is out of the bottle, but that is an area Gary brings up that I am not I'm not wild about. And this is where I do see maybe a little bit of the struggle when it comes to coaches in college football right now, where they think, and I think Matt Rule, this is where he is wanting to at least be a little bit more old school on how they develop that roster. You got to play the game. I understand that. But I think there are certain coaches that if they've got a list and they know that what they have to offer is strong, that once they're able to have that conversation with an actual student athlete, and I think we're pretty much putting quarterbacks into this conversation first and foremost because they're going to get the most value. But there are corners, there are wide receivers, there are edge rushers. There are guys that when they, and we've already seen some already in the transfer portal, that are also going to get a lot of, remember O'Shawn Mathis? O'Shawn Mathis was one of those guys that everybody thought Texas had him in the bag, then Nebraska got him. And there was so many rumors of how much money they had to pay them and how much money they had to dangle in front of them just to get a conversation going with them. I don't know if all that was true.
We'll buy us another player.
And think about the impact that O'Shawn Mathis had on that defense. It was minimal. Yeah. It was absolutely minimal. So
Rick on the stream makes a great point here. He goes, NIL really needs some kind of limit or it will really get out of hand. Like there has to be some sort of policing, I guess, and there has to be some guidelines. Not saying, oh, well, you see, you don't want them to be played. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they need to somehow figure out some sort of system for which may be coming back to this whole deal that we said at the end of the show yesterday about this new division, because it's the Wild West. I've had it. That's literally a quote that a coach that I worked with at Kansas told me. It's the Wild West. I spend most of my day now recruiting the players that I already have because who's to stop some school from coming in and trying to poach them? And it is there are no days off with it. And it's what burns some coaches out. And then you wonder why the Jay Wrights of the world get out and you're like, I don't blame them.
Well, and Jimmy, and this goes back to Gary's last question again, and I'll get to his first part too, but this is an era where the student athlete has far more power than they ever had. They have the leverage right now.
Yeah. That's like, what if you gave your 3-year-old power? How would that go?
Right. And so it is wild to think that you can have these well-established coaching staffs have a need to talk to a student athlete that could help their program. And you would think it would be mutual, where your program could also help that player get to where they want to be. Yet it is the player that holds all the cards saying, well, I need X amount of dollars for you guys for us to have that conversation. Again, you need to pay the cover charge to get into the door. That's where I don't think every coach universally is going to be like, all right, that's just what we have to do. That's where we are. I think that's still an area where coaches are like, nope, because
there are other dudes that we can talk to that aren't going to charge. I mean, we'll pay them, but to play.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like it's just these players.
Good luck, kid, and good luck to your future coach.
Well, it's not just these players that are setting that precedent. They have their handlers. They have, whether it's parents.
Saban that? How's that go?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like Saban's that way, and I get it. You would think Matt Rule for a team that is desperate to elevate their offense that, hey, no price is too high to do business in college football. Well, I think that's true to an extent, but I do think that there is an actual cutoff as well.
You still want people, as Rule would say, you still want people who want to be Cornhuskers.
And that's the other part of it. Is,
I'd like to play for Nebraska. I mean, we could come to terms. This could work out, but no, you don't need to charge me to talk to me. Like, I'm interested in you too. I like you.
Right. Even if that's coming from the player's handler and not actually the player himself, it does, I think, to an extent, maybe give you a little bit of an idea of what that player might be about. And is that
what's it going to be like in the locker room?
Right. And are you convinced that, okay, that's a red flag, but I'm like, his ability completely outweighs the concern I have about maybe the attitude. And, can you separate, boy, that's kind of egotistical of that guy. Can you separate it from that to, well, you know what? He's being a businessman, and I gotta respect that. He's taking advantage of what is now available to him, and I gotta respect that. I think coaches are going to have a tough time with that. I know that was a very long-winded way to answer that question. The first part of his question, though, about with this new Division I proposal, and when we come back in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to kind of sort of reiterate what we learned yesterday
It
from Charlie
fascinated the
Baker.
crap out of me, and that was kind of a mic drop at the end
Mhm.
of the show because it's been talked about ever since it started. It's going to be the big two and everybody else. Well, now you're starting to see it, and people that there's like faux outrage or shock. What did you think?
Right.
This is where it was trending.
I think
Do you
they felt like
the
you're just going to
model
continue
as
to kick
is
the
right
can
now-
down the road a
Yeah,
little bit
no.
more.
Because this conversation right here about paying dudes just to visit.
Yep.
This is what happens when there's no regulation. So then if you end up getting something where there is, and yes, well, it's the haves and the have-nots. It is.
It is.
Pandora's out of the box now. This is what it is.
Right.
You're going to see some schools surprise you that are all in, and there are going to be some that surprise you like, oh, I thought for sure they'd be in that tier, but they'll be like, no, that's not a business model we can get behind.
Yeah, and
or
it's
they're not
naive to
all
pretend
in.
that doesn't exist. And this is why I give a lot of credit to Charlie Baker compared to Mark Emmert, where Mark Emmert he was naive to pretend it didn't exist, and he was naive to think that
Well, it's
college
like, I'll retire
athletics
before this is a thing. That'll be my problem.
right, and that college athletics was the exact same thing in 2021 that it was in 1981. There was a lot of ignoring of the major issues, and then instead of being proactive and getting out in front of it, like I feel Charlie Baker's trying to do with the NCAA, Mark Emmert did not. He continued to kick the can down the road and felt like there would be solutions that would present themselves and they could sort of keep everybody at bay and not have to jeopardize amateurism.
Too late.
And then when you continue to ignore it, it's not a trickle-down effect. It is a blow-up-in-your-face type of effect. And I think that's what
And then
everyone
you're
is dealing
being
with.
Reactive.
Yeah,
not
absolutely. You're being
proactive.
reactive.
So Charlie Baker's trying to be proactive to the next step and saying something that might make you uncomfortable and saying something that you're like, this really going to happen? It started happening. The second they said we're going to start paying players, this is part of it. You cannot go halfway. You have to go
And
all
it's
the
not
way
going
in.
back. But, and to Gary's first question, and when we come back, I want to get into this. Gary's question is, with this new proposal and this trust fund that they want to set up for each student athlete, can that have an impact on the transfer portal? Can it slow it down? Can it make it more controllable? Does it become less free agency? And I think there also would be questions with NIL. It's a great question that Gary brings up, and it's one of the core talking points that I think this proposal left a lot of us with yesterday, and I want to get into that. We will do so on the other side of the break.
Before we go to break, because this is pertaining to this very well, Terrence has something on the stream. And usually I don't do this, so I apologize. But this is a couple of really good points that we need to share, and then people can think about this during the break. He talks about, I think, the visit fees and how much player costs also depend on development track record of the staff. Very true. We're only talking about a select few players. I agree. This one here, players know which places are desperate as well, who is known to overspend if it's more about money than winning. So now taking the other side of
Texas
the argument
A&M,
here,
we're not talking about you, but maybe we are.
Taking the player's side, then the answer is, or the question is, can you blame them then? They're going to pay. Might as well get some more out of it.
Yeah. No,
we would.
They're
We work
playing
in
the
radio,
game.
so
they're playing the game. It's not a matter of being overly upset at the player as opposed to
if you're the
being
coach,
a
you
product
can
of the
judge.
environment and the system that is now in place.
And if you're desperate and find a school that's desperate, odds are that coach isn't going to bat an eye when you're charging just to visit. You
Yeah.
kind of deserve each other at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So good stuff. This is fascinating.
What Terrence brings up immediately makes me think of Texas A&M because it's not just overpaying coaches and paying them $76 million to walk away, but it is also, if you look at what they've paid NIL-wise and the type of players that they've gotten from the transfer portal.
That's some good oil money.
And the very, very minimal result that they've gotten from that. That is a great example of it. All right, a lot to get to when it does come to this. Some great questions being posed, and we will get into all of that. Again, coming up at 8 o'clock, we're going to get back into the Creighton basketball conversation with Matt DeMarinis. Also, Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald will join us at 9 o'clock as we continue. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a significant delay from 90th all the way to 108th along L Street. And on Center, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 192nd to 168th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
This holiday season, give the gift of fun. Give the gift of education at Omaha Children's Museum. Black Friday through New Year's Eve, save $25 when you give the gift of membership at Omaha Children's Museum. Visit ocm.org for more information.
Tailgate parties call for burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else you can slap on a bun. But those burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else deserve the best buns. And the best buns come from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Crazy fresh, crazy delicious. So for your next party, pick some up at the bakery off 108th and Harrison or at your favorite grocery store. Fire up your grill and get ready for kickoff. Rotella's Italian Bakery, more than 100 years of tradition. Hey, can I get a burger with some cheese, lettuce, and tomato? Thanks.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
At Dingman's, we are working for you before you even walk through our doors. Our level of commitment to industry involvement and continuing education is second to none. Through our ongoing involvement, we stay current with all the best repair procedures for the ever-changing vehicle. This includes working with auto and paint manufacturers, as well as insurance companies. Our repair facilities are set up with the latest repair and technology. Our ongoing work is to ensure that when you do need us, we are able to provide you with the safest, best repair possible. Because at Dingman's, we would rather be the best than apologize for anything less. Dingmans.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
The Woodcliff Restaurant in Fremont is just a quick sleigh ride from Omaha at Woodcliff Lake. Get a head start on all your stocking stuffers with gift cards from the Woodcliff Restaurant. Winters at the Woodcliff Restaurant are warm and inviting, like a Santa's workshop, but more fun. Stop fighting traffic, parking, and one-way streets. Slow down and enjoy a fantastic dinner at the lake with family and friends this holiday season. The Woodcliff Restaurant is Santa approved. Check them out at thewoodcliffrestaurant.com or on Facebook for specials and events.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on-site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
The holidays are here. This holiday season, we encourage you to come support our local stores in Omaha. And Westwood Plaza has everything you need to find that perfect gift. Chippy's in Westwood Plaza is Nebraska's only British market and bakery, offering food and beverages following traditional British recipes with ingredients imported from England. Whether it's pies, pasties, buddies, or even butterbeer, there's something for everyone. Stop in for some jolly good treats to make this year's holidays stand out. And a Chippy's gift card is the perfect gift to give. Stop into Chippy's British Market and Bakery, 123rd and Center inside Westwood Plaza. Ahi Sushi Ramen and Grill is an Asian fusion casual dining restaurant inside Westwood Plaza with a wide variety of Asian cuisine dishes available like sushi, hibachi, curry, ramen, and teriyaki. You're sure to find a favorite. If you're planning a holiday get-together, try a party tray from Ahi Sushi Ramen and Grill. Check them out at 124th and Center inside Westwood Plaza. Everything you need to shop locally for the holidays is at Westwood Plaza in Omaha.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620, The Zone.
Some of these things, music or whatever that we have in the drive.
This is my favorite, by the way.
This reminds you of like early 90s Big 8 football highlights. And in Ames, Iowa State took on Colorado, presented by Phillips 66.
This reminds me of what was First and 10 in HBO. The HBO was like the original football TV series.
Oh, Inside the NFL.
No. It was actual like a drama.
Oh, okay.
I think it was called First and 10. It was about they were called the Bulls.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what it reminds me of.
Sort of big animal.
Yeah.
Jazz Shelley last night, she messed around and got a triple-double. Wanted to say it the other way. Not sure if the Lakers did beat the Supersonics, however. Anyway, she becomes the first Husker. I say that because that was the song that was playing when I turned the car on this morning. It's a good way to start the day.
It is.
All right. Today is going to be a good day. I got you. Anyway, she becomes the first Husker in history to record a pair of triple-doubles in her career by producing 19 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists to fuel the Nebraska ball women's largest victory margin over a Division I team in school history with a 108-35 win over UNC Wilmington at Pinnacle Bank Arena last night. They led 62-12 at halftime. What does the other team even say in the locker room at halftime? They could have just gone to gate 25. Nebraska is now 7-2. They open Big Ten play Saturday at Michigan State. Nebraska ball men look to bounce back from their beating at the hands of Creighton tonight at the Barn in Minneapolis against the Gophers. Tip-off is 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Man, almost past my bedtime. Six Nebraska volleyball players. Yeah. 6 Nebraska volleyball players and head coach John Cook were honored by the American Volleyball Coaches Association and the All-Region Awards announced yesterday. Becca Alec, Merrick Beeson, Andy Jackson, Harper Murray, Bergen Riley, and Lexi Rodriguez were all named to the North All-Region team. The Huskers' 6 All-Region selections ties the 2016 team for the most in program history. Additionally, Beeson was named North Region Player of the Year. Murray named North Region Freshman of the Year. Cook was named Region Coach of the Year for the 6th time in his career, first since 2016. And that's not all. Having already claimed Big East Player of the Week honors, this is a feel-good update. Baylor Shireman added to his accolades by earning the Oscar Robertson National Player of the Week. He is the 3rd player in program history to be honored with that by the U.S. Basketball Writers Association, joining Marcus Zagorowski back in 2020, right before everything went to hell in a handbasket. So this was February of 2020. So good old days, just a little bit longer. Anyway, and 4-time winner Doug McDermott, who is pretty good, and Spurs great Doug McDermott. So you keep banging that drum. I'm happy Doug's one of our guys now.
I'm excited for Doug Day.
Yeah, I'm excited for Doug Day too.
Doug Day is only 14 days away.
Yeah, well deserved. That's not all going on at Creighton. 3 Creighton volleyball players, as well as head coach Kirsten Bernthal Booth, all honored with all-region acclaim by the ABCA. Booth, in addition to senior Kiana Schmidt, junior Kendra Waite, and sophomore Ava Martin, were recognized as the best of the best from the East region. Pretty good for a Creighton team that's pretty good. And they all play tomorrow as the tournament. Wait, today's Wednesday? Yes, tomorrow. So everything continues.
Bright and early tomorrow.
Yeah, very bright and early.
I mean, late for us, but early for most people.
For most people that like to watch it. Yep. Okay, finally, Bronco Mendenhall is back in college football. The former BYU coach has agreed to a 5-year contract with New Mexico to be the school's next football coach. Deal was finalized last night. He has been an FBS coach for 17 seasons, successful stints at Virginia and BYU. He's most known as being at BYU. He hasn't coached since 2021 when he left Virginia to reassess, renew, reframe, and reinvent. You knew he'd be back, though. He's a damn good football coach. He will take on one of the biggest challenges in college football, as New Mexico hasn't won more than 4 games since 2016. He he fits out west, and he's had success out west. And I thought it was weird when he was at Virginia, but happy to see he's back there. New Mexico should be better than what they are. You're close to Texas, and you're less than 500 miles from the Phoenix metro. You should be able to pull some dudes, but you got to get it going. You got to give them a reason to want to go there. And you can't say, well, hey, have you seen Breaking Bad? Because that might send the wrong message.
Well, unless you want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you want to start a chicken joint
with
your brother.
There are things you can do but we don't recommend that.
We're just talking about chicken.
Yeah, just
I don't know what you're talking about.
Keep it on the level.
Just chicken.
Did you conveniently leave out that Cleveland, for the second year that they've been doing the lottery system, the Cleveland Guardians did get the number 1 draft pick? I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, it means more coming from you. It's too bad we don't have Shafe on today. You guys could.
Yeah, we might.
One, it would make Shafe feel better because you can only talk about
conversation
the
on Friday
Vikings so much. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But you have that, and baseball season not far away, especially when you're talking about record highs today and for sure tomorrow. Record high tomorrow, 61.
Oh, I thought you were talking about record high salary for possible Shohei Ohtani,
or record high salary just to get a visit with someone.
Now, the latest in the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes is that there is rumors that he likes his routine. He's a as I think most athletes of his caliber are creatures of habit, that he likes his routine, that he wouldn't possibly mind staying with the Angels. Now, if you're very familiar and comfortable with the LA area, it would make sense that you're going to play for the Dodgers just a little bit up the road. But I thought that was interesting that the Angels are still not completely out of this. And then, of course, you continue to see some thoughts on Toronto.
Oh, by the way.
But this could be happening in days. Apparently, Shohei wants this thing to be wrapped up in a matter of days. And he had a very lengthy conversation with the Dodgers yesterday.
By the way, 24-year-old Tyler Shuck is transferring to Louisville. He posted on the social media last night. It will be his 7th year of college. He turns 25 next September. Good to see he's on the tenure.
Yeah.
He's been at Oregon and Texas Tech, where he started his career back in 2018, pre-COVID. And he earned MVP of the Texas Bowl in a victory over Ole Miss last season, throwing for 242 yards, counting for 3 touchdowns. And finally, Trevor, high ankle sprain. He could even play Sunday. I don't know. Those high ankle sprains take a while to heal, though.
I didn't see if they were going to opt for the tightrope procedure. Because if you do the tightrope procedure, what is it, like 2 weeks and you're back?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's tough because they're in a race to be the number 1 seed. They're at Cleveland, who has a really good defense.
But don't you want to be at your best in the tournament?
Yes.
Like I'm curious if we will learn that there could be.
I would sacrifice the now to just get
procedure.
Exactly, just get in the tournament.
Unless it's not like maybe it's not the same high ankle sprain that would warrant that procedure. Again, I don't know, but I thought it looked really bad, and it did. And look, we've seen that. I mean, even hell, when we saw Casey roll his ankle, when you roll your ankle, I want to say I don't know the percentage, but I feel like more times than not, it looks way worse than what it turns out to be because your foot and your ankle, it's just not supposed to do that. I've had many rolled ankles in my life too, where I felt like my ankle bone actually hit the ground because my foot went inverted so bad. Like a few days, you throw some ice on it, you got an ace bandage on it for a couple of days, and you're good a week later. So
just don't take the shoe off right away because
I just the way that he was limping off and putting very, very little weight on it, I understand that's a precaution. But that concerned me as well.
If they really cared about precautions, they get a damn cart.
Yeah, very true. And Doug Peterson's tone after the game when talking about that, I understand they lost the game, so he was already maybe a bit melancholy. But he seemed to be overly concerned where he didn't want to let on. He thought that might be a lengthy absence. But good.
He's good. He's got another ankle.
That is good.
He's got 2 of them.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. I'm going to get back to the conversation that we've been having, and that is the D1 proposal by Charlie Baker, the new NCAA president, of where essentially you see the power brokers in collegiate athletics, the ones that are making the most money, could basically govern themselves. But I do want to go back to the quarterback conversation real quickly and just going back to the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Iowa JD having laughs, says, please let McCord come to Nebraska. He can't run. His offense sucked, and he had an NFL line and NFL wide receivers. Nebraska has none of this. This will be a glorious disaster. Steve, though, looks at it the other way. Says, I think McCord makes more sense than Howard because of his familiarity with the Big Ten. And then Fremont Fred, who at one point, I got to admit this for Fremont Fred, at one point was a believer, or at least was entertaining the idea of being a believer in Matt Rule, but is now back to calling Matt Rule a snake oil salesman. Said, don't be fooled. The car sales, he calls him a car salesman, sorry. The car salesman is playing the PR game with media and fans by visiting all these quarterbacks. He's read the room and knows it's what the masses want to travel around to say you tried, all posturing. So those are all three very different perspectives.
And all very good takes.
Of the quarterback
But that just
situation.
tells you where we're at right now. They're all good takes that are plausible.
I said this to JD in response. Out of the four that Nebraska has talked to, and again, I don't even say they're linked to, but have talked to, the most least likely quarterback that winds up in Lincoln, in my opinion, is Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
I don't think Kyle McCord winds up in Lincoln.
That's
just
why
me.
I put that in the tweet. It's sarcasm.
Yeah, that's just me, but that's where I'm at with that.
I don't know anything, but my money right now would lean towards Will Howard, but I don't have anything to base that on. I just think they'd be a good fit for each other.
Yeah, I'm actually more on the Sam Levitt.
I could be wrong. I probably am wrong.
I'm kind of on the Sam Levitt train right now out of the four, but again, that could change. Who knows? Okay, so when we left you yesterday, the news had just broke that the new NCAA president, Charlie Baker, has proposed rule changes that would essentially allow Division I schools to pay their athletes in ways that are not tied to educational resources. This proposal that was sent to member schools states if Division I schools choose to adopt these rules, they would be allowed to enter into name, image, and likeness deals directly with their athletes. The new rules would also create a new subdivision of Division I schools that would be allowed to create its own set of rules for recruiting, set its own rules for transfers, roster size, and a wide range of other policies. To be a part of that subdivision, each school would have to put millions of dollars each year into a trust fund for athletes. Now, also the policy would bring change when it comes to the amount of money this trust fund that they're talking about would have to be in compliance with Title IX. And at a minimum, there would have to be $30,000 per student athlete in this trust fund. So if you are a Scully, if you're on a Scully, you have at least $30,000 in that trust fund that you can access. It basically says at any point. Now, there's supposed to be more details from Baker today. He's speaking in Las Vegas at a public appearance. But he has privately floated this idea to college sports leaders during the past several weeks. And you saw Trev Alberts tweet out yesterday in support of this. Ohio State current athletic director, Gene Smith, who will be retiring soon, also showed public support about this as well. I think you look at those two schools, you would consider to be part of that subdivision if and when created, more when created, because of their financial situations. And again, going back to this $30,000 per athlete trust fund, that money would be ostensibly to help athletes continue educational pursuits during the summer or after their careers. But there would be no requirements for how they spend it. And as I said before, schools could also choose to provide more money to each athlete or provide money to more of their athletes. It would also be left up to the individual schools to decide when they share that money with the athletes. So it's not like, okay, once you graduate, you can use that money or however you would be able to access it. That would be up to these schools. The NCAA doesn't intend to require that an athlete finish his or her degree before they get access to that money. But again, this is the other part of it. Speaking of Title IX, talking about the trust fund, it would be required to follow Title IX law by equally distributing money to men and women. Any NIL payments made from schools to their athletes would also be subject to Title IX rules. It doesn't define a line for which schools would fall in the top earnings subdivision, but basically is more of a framework where it would give schools the option to decide. And the top schools, which according to the letter are more impacted by collectives, transfer portal, and NIL, will be allowed to create their own set of rules to help police those areas of the market for college athletes in unique ways. So I want to go back to that part right there. And this was a question that Gary had asked back in the 6 o'clock hour on how this proposal and this new potential subdivision, the Big Two, SEC, Big Ten, we're talking to you guys, how that could impact the transfer portal. And
significantly.
I think I agree. And I think
haves and have-nots.
Potentially for the better when it comes to the type of money you could potentially make, because it doesn't, on top of this trust fund, it's not like this trust fund is, well, that's in lieu of NIL. No. That's something that you're guaranteed to have. And it's not, it just has to be $30,000. It can be more. And I would assume if you want to be competitive, it will be more. Now, the Title IX part of it, having equal distribution, that's important to keep in mind. But, and they do, and Charlie Baker mentioned this too, with the popularity, the impact that you've also seen from the women's side of it as well, and the earning power that you've seen from the women's side of it. How much do we talk about Caitlin Clark? Angel Reese, talking about Livy Dunn. There are Power 5 female student athletes with major earning power. So,
and well deserved. All
absolutely. So we've kind of gotten to that part. But as far as how that could impact the transfer portal, this is where I think you would have a lot of interest if you are one of the other subdivisions of wanting to make to the Big Two. But I also think when you have a chance to make your own rules involving transfers, this is where I think you can put some of that toothpaste back in the tube. This is where I think you can be a little bit more detailed and strict because, hey, we are now paying you to be students, not just for educational purposes, but we are also paying you. You have a trust fund, you have NIL. We will continue to ramp that up. So we are going to be a little bit more. Now, this is just my theory. I'm not saying this is what would happen. But we are going to try to nip this in the bud when it comes to this whole Wild West frenzy of transferring. So there are going to be maybe more stringent requirements of how and when you can transfer. I would assume if a coach leaves, you would still have that opportunity.
As you should.
Yep. But I think the amount and the reasoning behind it, now that you have less cases to look at, because you're talking about another subdivision that would govern itself, that you could look at things more on a case-to-case basis and still have swift response as opposed to letting it drag on for an entire year where everything is up in limbo. That's just one example. So I do think you can have it regulated to the point that maybe it slows down. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive to think that. But when there's big money in it and you're trying to protect your brand or brands, and those brands being these schools, one of the biggest concerns, and I think one of the biggest headaches that all these coaches are dealing with right now is roster management and having to constantly re-recruit their current roster. There is a way with this type of proposal and being able to make your own rules that you can govern that, and I think that you can regulate it a little bit more. That's my opinion. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that. If you think, it could be completely the opposite. Maybe it's just we joke about the trade deadline in college football. Like, are we getting close to trade? Hell, maybe they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just make this thing a professional type.
And when people say, well, there's no way that'll be that, I always answer, because what in the past 15 years tells you that anything is off limits?
Right.
Anything is on the table now. Like I said, Pandora's out of the box. So, they'll never have trades in college football. They already essentially have free agency. Why wouldn't they? Especially if this succeeds and you get a Big Two. They can make their own damn rules, and they know it.
Well, and the NIL part of
They'll
this
make
too,
a lot of money
when you're able to govern it the way that you want to. Where, again, I think you are tapping into each school, and you're sitting down with them and saying, I think everyone would have a voice on this thing. And I think including student athletes. I think you ask student athletes, other than the obvious, and that's playing time, what would be the most favorable situation you'd find yourself in to stay at a university for the duration of your time?
Mm-hmm.
Get that input. Mm-hmm. Then you talk to coaches. You know the coach is going to say, yeah, the transfer portal is tough to keep up with. And I don't think any of us would disagree with that. It's part of your job right now, but it's a challenge. There's no question. Now you're in a position to where all of these schools in this subdivision would be extremely well positioned in NIL, would be schools that can provide a lot of resources for these student athletes, both athletically and academically, that maybe you have that opportunity, you have that ability to retain those student athletes because of the type of world they're now living in when it comes to college athletics compared to their peers that are in the other subdivisions. Now, what's going to be interesting, too, is what would happen if, say, Jimmy, you play for Nebraska. You know what? You're not liking it. You want to transfer. Could you transfer within that subdivision? Can you transfer outside that subdivision? What does that look like? What is someone from the lower subdivision that maybe wants to transfer into that one? How does that work? So those are some interesting things when it comes
down to, can they play? Like, if you're not able to play, like, I just can't crack the rotation in this Big Two.
Yeah.
But I know I can play in the other ones. Yeah.
Because you're obviously, if this were to happen, and especially we're going to talk in the context of college football here.
Because there would still be NIL at the other levels, just at a smaller level.
You would assume there would be divisions.
Yeah.
I would assume maybe there would be some type of rule you can't transfer within the division. I don't know. Again, because everything is completely off the table when it comes to transfers and the restrictions. And again, Nebraska's talking to Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt was in the Big Ten. I mean, how many you see interconference transfers all the time now when there were conferences that were trying to do away with that and they were trying to restrict that. He's not doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. Go wherever you want. So it be back to those schools that can say, hey, look, we are providing you something that never existed before. In return, we want you to be loyal to these schools as much as you can, or at least loyal to a coaching staff as much as you can, because I understand everybody wants to play. That's not the reality. You're not going to play every down from the time you get to college to the time you leave. But how can we make that experience as positive for you, both financially, academically, and otherwise, to keep you at that university? And it's something that I think is going to have a lot of intrigue, because I don't think this is an if. This is a when. Mm-hmm. And I said this yesterday as we ended the show. It was funny when we started talking about the super conferences, Jimmy, more than 10 years ago, when the first expansion took place, when we saw Nebraska go to the Big Ten, Missouri go to the SEC, Colorado go to the Pac-12, Texas A&M go to the SEC. We kept saying, boy, it just seems like, remember the Pac-12 was going to be the Pac-20. Mm-hmm. And we started thinking, well, maybe not now is the time for the super conferences. And then we thought maybe 4. Kept thinking, though, once the college football playoff got off and running, that super conference, you started seeing the money that was coming in, that it would probably make sense that it is going to happen. And I remember the chatter, and I thought, keep your eye on the expiration date of that first college football playoff, which technically is in 2025, even though we'll get a jump on that in 2024. Mm-hmm. I don't think this could happen as early as 2025, but I don't think it'd take...
A lot could happen between now and then that they figure it out.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
It is very interesting.
Let's take a quick call before we take a break. Let's go to Bob on the 42 Degree Hotline. Good morning, Bob. Bob, you there? No, we lost Bob. Bob, call back. We'll get into the... I think he wanted to talk about the quarterbacks.
He's an Ohio State fan that lives here, and he has some thoughts on Kyle McCord.
Okay.
So I don't want to steal his thunder if he calls back.
All right.
Very, very interesting. And I was...
Well, Bob, by all means, call back. When we return, again, we'll get back into the quarterbacks, the numbers. This is who Nebraska has talked to. I don't even want to say they're linked to. There is some serious smoke behind one guy compared to the other. This, I think, in all likelihood, is going to be sort of a waiting out process for a lot of these quarterbacks that are going to be courted by several schools. But what gets you the most excited about the type of quarterback that Nebraska could get, and more importantly, needs to see this offense upgrade? We will take a look at some of those numbers when we return. We'll also talk some Nebraska hoops. Creighton hoops, just around the corner at the top of the hour. We're going to be talking to Matt DeMarinis, and we will get his thoughts on what he saw on Sunday. And we mentioned it's an important stretch for Nebraska basketball up ahead. Also a very interesting stretch for Creighton basketball, especially in December as they get into conference play a little bit later on as well. He joins us at 8. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald joins us at 9 as we continue. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, it's cold outside, right? Well, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers continue to stay hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. And this is a good weekend of that when it comes to NFL games. You've got Seattle, San Francisco. You've got Jimmy's Cowboys taking on the Eagles on Sunday night, and other good ones, including the white-hot Houston Texans. Yeah, that's right. You heard it right. And everything from spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more on the easy-to-use app. So visit FanDuel.com. Use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone. And 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Have dynamic divisions. You can literally do that by saying, all right, well, we're going to match up the teams that we have scheduled against each other, and they're in one division, and the other group is in the other side. Hell, you could change them every year if you wanted to, but at least you have structure of this team's going to have the best record on this side, and your tiebreakers are going to work.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Warming up on Wednesday, expect mostly to partly sunny skies. Wind will pick up mid-morning out of the south and southwest, gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs climbing into the mid-50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Book an appointment now or take the vision quiz at KuglerVision.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have one accident to report that has the right lane blocked westbound along I-80 at exit 440, and that's going to be backed up all the way to 126th Street, and you can expect delays of up to 10 minutes in that area. Then along L Street, be prepared for a little bit of a delay near 90th, and along Highway 370, there's going to be some major slowdowns from 72nd to Gold Coast Road. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call 402-810-0789 or visit IBEW22.org today.
Experience Omaha's first Indian restaurant and brewery. Jaipur has created delicious Indian food and brews, from the tandoori salmon to the chicken tikka makhani. Jaipur has something for every palate. 2 locations, Rockbrook and Dundee. Come see why Jaipur has been voted first place Best of Omaha 18 years in a row.
This holiday season, give the gift of fun. Give the gift of education at Omaha Children's Museum. Black Friday through New Year's Eve, save $25 when you give the gift of membership at Omaha Children's Museum. Visit ocm.org for more information.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style.
When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Dear Santa, I hope you are having a good day in the North Pole. Is it cold all the time there? Is that why your cheeks are so rosy? I bet all of your reindeer are very excited. All right, guys. Is your beard long? My dad's is scratchy. My mom says I'm a good helper. But you didn't come last year. Was my chimney broken? Or did you forget? I do that sometimes. I just really hope this year when I wake up, I'm gonna see that you came to my house too.
Donate to Toys for Tots and help the Marines deliver hope to a child in need.
Howdy, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Outdoor Nebraska update. It's hunting time in the Husker State. For a safe season, remember to be totally certain of your target and your background before you fire that shot. In a moment, ask yourself, is the bullet flight path clear? Is that a legitimate target? And what am I going to hit if I miss my shot? Please be careful out there. I'm Greg Wagner with Nebraska Game and Parks.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long. And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
And now, try Babbel free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
When it comes to protecting your home, Jay Stennett Contracting takes pride in ensuring every detail is handled. Roofing, siding, gutters. When it comes to the exterior of your home, Jay Stennett Contracting has you covered. This fall, consider gutter guards to block debris and prevent clogs and save you the hassle of regular maintenance. Schedule a consultation today and let Jay Stennett Contracting's expert team and durable gutter guards ensure your gutters are working properly in every season. Jay Stennett Contracting. We have you covered. JSCRestoration.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
I was thinking about something. Still hearing a little bit of the backlash over Florida State not getting into the college football playoff, and you've now heard even recently politicians, Ron DeSantis wants to sue over that, trying to stick up for his Florida State Seminoles in the great state of Florida. Remember the extended playoff got tabled. Remember the first proposal of pretty much what it is going to be, with a couple of tweaks to it now because of realignment in the Pac-12 not essentially existing. But remember, this most likely was going to be the first year of the expanded playoff. And there were power brokers, one of them, including Jim Phillips, that were part of the delay. Didn't like, Kevin Warren was part of it, didn't like some of the language that was put in there, so they decided to table it. And that delay led to eventually approving an expanded college football playoff that would take effect in the 2024 season. But isn't it kind of interesting that the conference that is crying foul the most, and I'm not saying like, oh, boo-hoo, shame on you. Like, look, I would be very pissed off too if my team went undefeated and I'm in a Power 5 and I didn't make the college football playoff. You have every reason to be pissed off about that. But I do think it's kind of interesting because Gary brought up, if you want to blame somebody, blame Jim Phillips. Talk about the ACC commissioner when it comes to all of the other, well, especially in the SEC between Nick Saban and Greg Sankey. I mean, days leading up to the SEC championship, we're already lobbying and trying to put that either conscious or subconscious pressure on the college football playoff committee of talking about how it would be absolutely disrespectful if the SEC was left out. And then they even started talking about the SEC's track record in the college football playoff, which, yes, is true. They've owned it, but that shouldn't matter in a year like this. But when you start throwing all of that out there and you start wondering if that thing did have sort of an SEC slant, yet Jim Phillips isn't doing a whole heck of a lot to advocate for Florida State in being in the college football playoff until it was too late. It's kind of interesting that he and a couple other guys, well, one guy who's no longer with the Big Ten commissioner, Kevin Warren, were part of holding the college football playoff back when it came to expansion. That if they didn't, Florida State would be squarely in, easily in the new expanded college football playoff. I don't know.
And then we'd find out.
Yeah. I found that to be kind of interesting. Maybe that's why he wasn't advocating so much for Florida State, because he knew that if they were left out, well, had he been okay with the process before, and remember that alliance, Jimmy, remember the alliance?
I remember the original bowl alliance.
Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC alliance, and we had no idea what it meant. The only thing it meant
nothing.
Was that those three commissioners, and put Kliavkov in there too, those three commissioners were the ones that sort of stood in the way of the college football playoff expansion the way that it was first proposed. Yet when it got approved, it was pretty much the same as the original proposal. That the alliance, Jimmy, stood in the way of it being initially approved. And would we have had the expanded playoff this season? And the team that's being left out is a school that was represented by the alliance. Yeah, maybe that's why Jim Phillips hasn't said much or said much leading up to it. The alliance. That was fun. What was your favorite moment of the alliance?
That was a fun week.
I just remember, I have so much respect for Trev Alberts when it comes to being able to talk to a room, talk to any members of the media. He does it with a lot of thought. He does it with conviction. I remember him being asked about it, and I can't remember if it was on the network or if it was just in a pool of reporters, and he did his best to make sense of it, but even he couldn't. Like he wanted to put like a positive spin, and yet I think the simple answer was like, so what can you tell us about the alliance? What do you think about the alliance? Yeah, it's something. Not really sure what it is, but it's something. So can we look back now on the glory days of the Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC alliance and say the one thing that they did actually hurt one of their own? And that was that they held up the playoff expansion. And now it came
themselves.
And it came back and it bit Florida State in the hiney. That's a shame. Again, I don't want to sound
I said,
insensitive
is it
to Florida
right?
State.
No. But did they
Do
get
you
the
get
best
it? Yeah.
4 teams in there? Yes.
That's where I am.
What network controls the playoff? What do you think they want? Why do you think Texas and Alabama are put opposite each other so that they can meet in the championship game and they can basically do a 4-hour infomercial for this is going to be a league game next year on our network? Grr!
Yeah, there are a lot of things that can be true when talking about
they don't even
the college
hide
football playoff and how it happened.
And then they're going to get LeBron and the Lakers on in the middle of it.
Because I don't know. I'll ask you this question because I think I basically said it on Monday. If there was an SEC team, if Alabama essentially had the same type of profile that Florida State did, where they lost their quarterback there at the end, they were winning games, maybe winning their last couple games ugly. They had to play the conference championship game with a third-string quarterback, and that quarterback only threw for like 55 yards. Would the SEC team have gotten the benefit of the doubt? I think yes.
Absolutely.
So that can be true, which isn't fair to Florida State, but that can be true.
At the end of the day, they would love to have Alabama, Texas, the Lakers, and the Yankees in the college football playoff. All on ESPN, all Stephen A. Smith, all the time. Throw your TV out the window.
That's true.
Take a baseball bat to your TV or listen to the radio.
All right. So if you're looking at Kyle McCord versus Blake Shapen and Sam Levitt versus Will Howard, or you can just
insert your quarterback.
You can re-bracket it. You can re-bracket it if you want to. It's fine. But I want to throw some numbers here in just a moment when we come back. We're also going to be talking some Creighton basketball with Matt DeMarinis. But we will tell you maybe the most important thing.
Damn right, Mike. Let's not forget this. South Dakota State, and North Dakota State are still in the FCS playoffs.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited to watch me some FCS football this weekend. I enjoyed the hell out of that Montana game Saturday night.
Oh, you throw snow on the field? I'm going to watch. I don't even care who's playing.
I am a closet Grizz fan.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid, just because they would always be on in the playoff when we were kids, and it was always snowing there.
By the way, in the stream, Mike, I did see the comment and I love it. It said, at what point the unasked question, when does JG Wentworth become involved? 877 cash now when we were talking about the
877 cash now.
877 cash now. You'll never forget that. 877 cash now. Yeah. It's very catchy, just like the General. I would never
I don't know who this dude is, but yeah.
Yeah, I would never get insurance for the General, but you know what? I know the General, and I know Shaq seems to like him.
I know it's one of his 100 companies.
It is. Yeah. All right. Again, quarterback numbers coming up, and then we are going to talk some Creighton basketball. Matt DeMarinis, that is all still ahead. Mornings, Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone. All right, DJ's Dugout Sports Bar. They are proud to support Creighton Athletics, and DJ's is the official watch party sports bar of Creighton basketball. Watch Creighton basketball. DJ's huge TV walls at 7 metro locations. You can watch them take on Central Michigan at the Chi this weekend. Right across the street, of course, is DJ's Dugout right there on 10 the Capitol. And enjoy delicious food and a Blue Jay lemonade cocktail, of course. It's an Omaha tradition. Cheer for the Jays at DJ's. Voted Omaha's #1 sports bar locally and Vietnam veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
Hey folks, Kent Pavelka again to tell you about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked, uneven concrete, Everlevel can fix it at a fraction of the cost compared to replacement. This is no Band-Aid. Their products are built to last. It gives your concrete the durable protection it needs, and there's still time. I chose Everlevel for my driveway, and I've got peace of mind with their long-term transferable warranty. Everlevel's products and customer service are top-notch, and that's why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Say it with me. Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel.
O'Reilly. Cleaning your fuel system can help your engine run better and improve gas mileage. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts and pick up a bottle of Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner. On sale now. Buy one, get one free. Plus, get 2 times O-Rewards points. Get more fuel-saving tips from the professional parts people at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Planning something fun for your office, family, or friends? Joe's Karting is for you. Take a break. Come to Joe's to race, relax, and recharge. Great for team building. Ditch the speaker and burn some rubber. Trust us, Joe says you'll leave motivated. Joe's karting race packages range from providing simple stress relief races to the real deal race experience. Check us out at joeskarting.com. Remember, go to Joe's, your place to race.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. The playoffs are right around the corner, and right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins.
And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. You got a great slate, including the Jets using probably their fourth starting quarterback. You've got Cowboys, Eagles, and Bills, Chiefs, all great games to get involved in. App easy to use, wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com. Use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed for speaking in 3 weeks. Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long. And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
And now, try Babbel free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
So you guys with just 1 year of eligibility, at least 1 year of eligibility. And this, I hate when they say at least, because I mean that you could get the second one. Is there still a COVID one? Again, I'm just going to be so happy when we don't have to worry about that. When what it says next to your name as a classification is exactly what it is. There's a gray area there. Blake Shapen, who you remember was part of Baylor's Big 12 championship game not that long ago. In fact, had a good game in that one. Shapen's overall stats were not bad. And excuse me. Talk about Blake Shapen, by the way. The 2023 season, and of course, that was a dumpster fire of a season for Baylor. A little bit more slight is Blake Shapen at 6 foot, a little over 200 pounds. But if you look at what he was able to produce, again, what we all probably look at when it comes to any of the quarterbacks that are going to be potential possibilities anyway at Nebraska, first thing we're going to look at is, did they take care of the football? Blake Shapen did. In 8 starts, he was 184 for 298. He threw 13 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. So you don't mind that ratio. He was a 61, we can round up, 62 completion percentage, averaging 274 per contest. The other at least 1 year eligibility guy, your short-term solution again, would be Kyle McCord. Now, Kyle McCord's first full season as a starter was this year. Threw for 3,170 yards, 24 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And again, 6'3", 215. I think a lot of people sort of remember Kyle McCord, but as Iowa JD brought this up, and I know he's there's a little snark, but I think there's also, and by the way, he was a 66% completion percentage, 229 for 348. He's not a runner. I mean, you think of Justin Fields, you think of C.J. Stroud with what they had. He's probably more like Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins was not a mobile guy. And so you got more of a passer, which I don't necessarily think is a major turnoff for Nebraska. I think they would like somebody that is going to be an accurate passer, that is going to take care of the football. And we talked about it a lot. We'll continue to talk about it until we get a better idea of the quarterback picture. Who's got the quarterback instincts too? From communication between the sideline, when it comes to some dicey clock management, do you have a quarterback that's stepping in? He's got a better feel for it, isn't rattled by those moments. So there's that. And we know Kyle McCord, he was a 5-star guy coming out, had to wait his turn, waited behind some pretty damn good quarterbacks, a New Jersey guy. We've talked a little bit about Will Howard, but if you need a refresher on that, Will Howard is threw for 2,643. He was a 24 touchdowns to 10 interception guy this year. He was a 61% completion percentage, where, again, he didn't get the full start the previous year. Looked great in that Big 12 championship game a year ago. Came in for Adrian Martinez a year ago and really never looked back. But a lot of good things to like about his game as well. And there is a little bit of more mobility when it comes to him compared to, say, a Kyle McCord. Sam Levitt, I'll bring his numbers up just for the simple fact he did play last year, but you can't put a lot into it because he appeared in 4 games.
You can dissect that on the YouTube.
Right.
All 4 games.
His most snaps was in relief against Minnesota right before the Nebraska game, where he did go 8 for 12 for 73 yards, threw a touchdown, threw a pick. He did play limited snaps against Michigan in that blowout where he went 4 of 7, no touchdowns and a pick. Against Nebraska, he had 2 pass attempts, did have a touchdown pass. We remember seeing that one. And then against Maryland, he came in some mop-up duty as well. But he's another guy that, as we've heard, first of all, highly touted quarterback out of the Oregon area, 4-star guy. He is someone that would like to be more of a passer, although he can run a little bit. And when I think of the profile there, that more than anything sticks out from the amount of years eligibility-wise. He's got 4, and that there is athleticism, but it is a guy that has a much more stronger desire to be in the pocket, to be able to throw the football first and foremost and run second. Because I think that's exactly what Nebraska wants. Again, don't know if they're going to get him. But there's a comparison there when you look at Will Howard, I think, is more of the complete quarterback. Kyle McCord comes from football royalty with Ohio State and is a true passer. He's not going to hurt you with legs at all. And then Blake Shapen, who is a little bit more of a slight guy. I would say maybe kind of your poor man's Will Howard. If we're comparing all 4 quarterbacks right there, Shapen can move a little bit. Again, he'll be a sling it first guy. Size does concern me a little bit. That would be the overall of the 4 that Nebraska has talked to. Again, I'm stopping short of saying they're linked to. I guess if you talk to them,
you're linked to them.
You're linked to them. But the question that none of us know, if there is a big board right there in North Stadium, if there is a big board in Matt Rule's office, who is at the top? And can they even realistically get him? Because they might have someone at the very top. They're like, no.
Yeah, no.
Maybe he might be charging the cover charge that they don't want to pay.
Don't forget about Cam Ward. I mean,
yeah,
he enters the conversation.
Cam Ward is a guy that I think just about any major football program that has a need a quarterback wants. That one.
And he knows that. He'd be like, okay, yeah. I'm listening.
Because remember, he made the jump from FCS to Washington State. Now he's going from Washington State to even bigger boy football. That's going to fetch a high price. That one I can guarantee you. All right, when we come back and get into the Creighton conversation, Matt DeMarinis will be joining us as we will talk all things Creighton from what we saw on Sunday to the big stretch of games they have in front of us. And Baylor Shireman, is he one of the 5 best players in college basketball right now? All that with Matt, Evan Bland, an hour from now, as we'll get back into the Husker transfer portal conversation as well. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, the Season of Inspiration event is going on at Woodhouse, and what that means for you is there's never been a better time to check out a Mazda CUV. Now, like myself, I am proud owner of a Mazda CX-5. I love it, and it's only gotten better. Now, mine's a couple years older, and I had a chance to test drive the new 2023 looks. First of all, the look itself. It's got the new front grille that just looks so tough. The 19-inch silver metallic alloy wheels also makes this thing stand out. You get the standard iActive all-wheel drive, which makes it great for the winter conditions especially. But if you want options, well, how about 8 trims to choose from with the Mazda CX-5? You're sure to find one that is going to suit your lifestyle and, more importantly, your budget. My favorite feature, the Mazda Connected Services, which lets you remotely start your engine no matter where you are, which is perfect during the winter. So stop into Woodhouse Mazda today. Shop during the Season of Inspiration event. No payments for 90 days on all new 2023 and 24 Mazdas when financed through Mazda Financial Services. Woodhouse Mazda, conveniently located in Bellevue, and Woodhouse Place Mazda on 144th and Giles Road, where you can always enjoy a streamlined sales process at WoodhouseMazda.com and WoodhousePlaceMazda.com. Stop in today and save on Mazda CUVs, including the Mazda CX-5 at Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain, time-saving traffic center. We're still getting reports of that accident that has the right lane blocked westbound along I-80 at exit 440. That's going to be backed up all the way to I-680 now, and you can expect delays of up to 20 minutes in that area. Along center, be prepared for significant delays from 192nd to 156th. And northbound along the JFK, there's going to be just a little bit of slowdown from Chandler Road all the way to 28th Street. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Have yourself a classic little Christmas. Give Nebraska Lottery Holiday Classic Scratch tickets and Lotto tickets as gifts. They're fast, fun, easy, and make great stocking stuffers, party favors, or last-minute presents. Top prize odds vary by game.
Tailgate parties call for burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else you can slap on a bun. But those burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else deserve the best buns. And the best buns come from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Crazy fresh, crazy delicious. So for your next party, pick some up at the bakery off 108th and Harrison or at your favorite grocery store. Fire up your grill and get ready for kickoff. Rotella's Italian Bakery, more than 100 years of tradition. Hey, can I get a burger with some cheese, lettuce, and tomato? Thanks.
Email us on the Equitable Bank inbox with whatever is on your mind. Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can get me, Gary, at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Tell us how you feel on the J-Tech Construction and Solar Zone Twitter feed. Reach Gary, Nick, Connor, Josh, and John anytime on the J-Tech Construction and Solar Zone Twitter feed. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction at yourexteriorexperts.com.
At Dingman's, we are working for you before you even walk through our doors. Our level of commitment to industry involvement and continuing education is second to none. Through our ongoing involvement, we stay current with all the best repair procedures for the ever-changing vehicle. This includes working with auto and paint manufacturers, as well as insurance companies. Our repair facilities are set up with the latest repair and technology. Our ongoing work is to ensure that when you do need us, we are able to provide you with the safest, best repair possible. Because at Dingman's, we would rather be the best than apologize for anything less. Dingmans.com.
The Woodcliff Restaurant in Fremont is just a quick sleigh ride from Omaha at Woodcliff Lake. Get a head start on all your stocking stuffers with gift cards from the Woodcliff Restaurant. Winters at the Woodcliff Restaurant are warm and inviting, like a Santa's workshop, but more fun. Stop fighting traffic, parking, and one-way streets. Slow down and enjoy a fantastic dinner at the lake with family and friends this holiday season. The Woodcliff Restaurant is Santa approved. Check them out at thewoodcliffrestaurant.com or on Facebook for specials and events.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone. Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
It's kind of disappointed that nobody remembered the Fox 42 Creighton basketball promo that they had. I want to say it was running in the 80s, and they would play this song. And then I don't even know who the guy was, but he would come on at the very end and he would just go, Creighton Blue Jays, ha, 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 ha. That was it. That was commercial. It might tell you who they were playing that week, but yeah, that was the promo. It was an old Fox 42 promo.
On a related story, they didn't sell too many tickets because they forgot to say tickets on sale. They're like, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was just a kid.
Not that they would need any of that
I
now.
remember it, yeah. Well, you didn't have to worry about selling tickets to the old Civic Auditorium. You knew Creighton was playing, you showed up there. If you know Creighton was playing, you show up to the CHI Health Center too, as that's where Creighton will be on Saturday at 1 o'clock, which you'll hear right here on 1620 The Zone, taking on Central Michigan in an interesting 5-game stretch in front of the Jays after getting a week off after dismantling Nebraska 89-60 as we go to the 42-degree hotline, The Source, and welcome in our source for Creighton basketball, Matt DeMarinis of White and Blue Review. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Doing well. And so we've now been able to process over the last couple of days more on the Nebraska side of what went wrong, but for Creighton and Matt, the last time we spoke to you, Creighton had not taken on Oklahoma State yet. And so that game was taking place. They were coming off of that very lengthy layoff since they lost to Colorado State. And I know there were things that I'm sure you wanted to see from Creighton to kind of feel like that was a one-off, which I think most of us considered Colorado State game to be a one-off. But before we get into the Nebraska game, what did you see from just going on the road to Stillwater that probably kind of set this in motion with that game on Sunday?
Well, I think the first thing is probably that, the offense is still what we think it is. Even though Colorado State was the best team they had played to that point, I guess with a week off and the way the rest of the schedule had shaken out, you probably had maybe a little bit of a question of how can Creighton operate offensively, who's really their key cogs and key moments against, quality competition. And, now after the 2 games since Colorado State, now paired with the 5 before it, I think we can establish that the dudes are still the dudes and that they can be relied upon, right? And I think, the other part of it is coming out of Colorado State, you're starting to see Stephen Ashworth get a little bit more comfortable, and that's kind of what my message was to people that maybe didn't quite see what we had seen in the preseason with him in terms of how he's meshing with that starting group and his role in that offense, especially. But you see now these last 2 games as Creighton is looking more like themselves. He's key to establishing their pace offensively, both on the ball and off the ball. And, when you lose him defensively in all the off-ball movement that he does and allow him to, get catch and shoot threes and step into threes and, move inside and out of your defense, he's a really dangerous component to this offense. And I think he elevates it to an elite level. And I think that's what we've seen from them offensively these last 2 games outside of the Colorado State one.
And you with Ashworth, that was my biggest takeaway from the Oklahoma State game was what it did to other scores, mainly Trey Alexander, because you see a guy that needed to kind of get back on track offensively. Trey Alexander, it seemed like once Stephen Ashworth kind of set the pace offensively, Trey seemed more like himself. I mean, is that something that you can kind of expect that each night with this offense, with the amount of shooters that they have and understanding what they want to do inside with Kalkbrenner, that maybe it's an Ashworth one night, maybe it's an Alexander one night, maybe it's Baylor one night. Some guy is going to be able to kind of set that offensive pace, and then you're going to see another player really benefit from that, like we saw Trey did last week against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of going to be the secret sauce of this Creighton offense. Is it's kind of just going to be, there's going to be a little bit of a feel out process, maybe that first 5 or 6 minutes, and then, they'll attack a defense based on what that defense is giving them, and then they'll adjust throughout the game as well. And I think that Oklahoma State game, you see, they took the Colorado State blueprint of making Baylor Shireman and Trey Alexander their key priorities defensively, because Ryan Kalkbrenner was getting one-on-ones in the post early in that game, and Stephen Ashworth was kind of running amok. So, I think a big moment of that Oklahoma State game was after Ashworth had kind of gotten going and knocked down some shots. He chases down an offensive rebound and flips it back to Trey Alexander for a step-in three, and that unleashed Trey because he started being more aggressive, getting downhill, getting to his spots. So that Oklahoma State game was funny because, the first half was Ashworth and Kalkbrenner going off while Oklahoma State was focused on Shireman and Alexander. And then in the second half, Ashworth, they were more physical with Ashworth, not letting him get, easy cuts and, find spots on the floor to be open for kick out threes. And they were paying more attention to Kalkbrenner on catches and, giving him less space in the interior. And then Baylor Shireman and Trey Alexander went off in the second half. So, I mean, that's kind of what's dangerous about this offense is they're really good at reading the game and playing off of each other and reacting to how a defense is guarding them. And I think that was a good example of that. And then I think you saw a lot of carryover to that effect in Lincoln on Sunday.
And if you couple those last two games, we know that defensively what Creighton is going to give you is going to be the mid-range look. Perimeter-wise, they're going to lock you down. Inside, we already know what Kalk can do in front of the rim. But we saw both Oklahoma State and Nebraska struggle with the mid-range jumpers. And I know sometimes that can be a testament of just some cold shooting nights for those teams. But is there something, especially with what they do near the rim, what this defense does near the rim, that still has that impact on even those mid-range jumpers that we're seeing some teams still misfire on, even though that those shots appear to be there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think these last two games have been, ever since the Iowa game, honestly, their defense is kind of getting markedly better. And I think these last two games, you see, Oklahoma State was still under a point per possession. That's with them cashing 7 threes, some tough ones too. So, in the Nebraska game was an example of Creighton's physicality defensively and just, being a little bit sharper in their drop coverage. Kalkbrenner's depth wasn't, they weren't letting Nebraska get to like 12 to 15 feet. They were making them have to make plays and decisions at 18 to 20 feet, which is really where, you can really make a team pretty inefficient offensively if you're making them live in that area of the floor as opposed to rhythm threes or things right at the rim. And I thought Creighton's defense, especially against Nebraska, was really sharp. Keisei Tominaga got going early. I think he got a pick six that allowed him to kind of get flowing, get confident. But after his hot start, where it was, I think, the first 10 minutes of the game, I think he finished 3 for 10, and Nebraska really struggled offensively. So they were able to shut his water off after he got going, which is a good sign because, when a scorer goes off, that's another question. Like, can you break their rhythm in game, or do you have to kind of just live with them going off and hope no one else does? But Creighton's defense, I think, is making a lot of strides. They were better against Oklahoma State than they were against Colorado State, and they were better against Nebraska than they were against Oklahoma State. So they're going in the right direction. I think they're in the top 10 now in KenPom and defensive efficiency, top 15 on Bart Torvik. So they're moving the right direction on both ends of the floor. And these next handful of games here to close out non-conference play will be big in terms of keeping those tools sharp as they get into Big East play, because once they jump into that, it's going to be they're not getting that soft landing, I guess, with Villanova, Marquette right out of the gate.
Talking to Matt DeMarinis of White and Blue Review here on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. So, Matt, going back to Sunday, look, Baylor Shireman, I know he stole the show. He missed his first couple of shots, and then, my goodness, I mean, it was just a joy. If you're a fan of good college basketball and watching somebody kind of saw it of Baylor Shireman, but we're seeing this out of Baylor. He looks he was good last year, so I don't like saying this, but he looks different, and in such a big way that if this team is going to reach the expectation, when you look at his game on both ends, what has stood out to you about what might be different with Baylor this year compared to last year? I mean, is it just personnel? Is it just having another year in the Big East in a little bit better competition? What about his game now jumps off the page compared to last year?
Well, I think the first thing that jumps out to me is just his body. I mean, I think he's physically in a better spot to play at this level. And I don't think you should have any kind of qualms over feeling like Baylor's that you're seeing a better Baylor Shireman than you did last year, because I think that's something that he would even say. He spent a lot of time in the off season, working on his body, getting stronger, getting in a certain level of condition that would allow him to, play a high usage role in this team.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a focus of his, I think, coming out as soon as the season ended. He waited maybe a couple days before he said, "Yeah, I'm not even gonna test the waters. I'm just gonna put my head down and get right to work, because I'm coming back and I want to have a better year, individually, and finish the job that they started as a team." So I think he's in a different mindset right now, and I think what you're seeing with him is just kind of all that confidence that comes in all the work that he put in the off season. But it's translating. Like he obviously is a guy who can take over a game, but he's also a guy that can kind of keep a game in control, because he can get.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that gets lost, but he's a guy that gets kind of his value. I don't think is always apparent to the untrained eye, with the way he moves, with the way he screens, with the way he just makes the right read and the right pass. So even if he's not scoring, he's usually having a pretty significant impact on the game when he's right. And yeah, the Nebraska game was just an example of, he kind of figured out the way Nebraska was going to guard Creighton, and then they had a good game plan in terms of how to attack that. And once he kind of got comfortable and got into a rhythm, he was just on a crazy heater. And honestly, that second half, he wasn't even far away from continuing that. I mean, he easily could have had 35 to 40, because those misses from three, which were really good looks as well, they didn't miss bad. They were clean misses, in and outs, things like that. So he wasn't far off from dropping 35 or 40 in Lincoln that night.
Were you surprised? Maybe the better question is, how did you anticipate Nebraska defending Creighton going into Sunday, and were you surprised with the way they did defend? And saying they did defend Creighton is actually kind of laughable, but the way that they tried to defend Creighton.
Yeah, no, that's the way they defended them last year. That's the way they kind of defend. I think I was talking to you guys about it too, that, I really wasn't crazy about the way they were, I guess not the way they were defending, but the level they were defending at so far this season. Like, they're a team that doesn't allow middle, or doesn't want to allow middle. They want to force you baseline. They want to send help from the low side and trap that, and kind of force, collapse on the ball as it gets closer to the rim, and force you into kind of live ball turnovers that they can turn into easy offense in transition. And that's kind of how they their bread is buttered, if you will. But they hadn't been. I don't think they've been very good at executing that style this season. I think they just, I think the poor schedule. And I mean, there's really no other way to put that. I know it sounds insulting, but they do have, I think they have the third worst strength schedule among power conference teams right now. So, and that's with Creighton on it already. So, I mean, I think they just kind of took advantage of that. Some teams that kind of weren't able to expose that defense to the degree that Creighton could. And, you saw a lot of empty side action for Creighton, where they just kind of, put Baylor Shireman and Trey Alexander on one side of the floor, let them beat a defender to the baseline, let them spray the ball out to the opposite side of the floor and get Nebraska's defense in rotation and kind of make them chase Creighton around the floor until they got the open shot they were looking for, and then they capitalized. So honestly, like, it was 89-60, and Creighton's offensive efficiency was really good, but the way they kind of picked apart Nebraska's defense, it could have been a lot worse, because Creighton didn't even really have a good shooting game in Lincoln. That's and they still had a 1.2 points per possession over that. So yeah, I knew Creighton was going to attack it that way. I knew Nebraska was going to defend that way. And it was all just going to come down to whether Creighton knocked down the shot they were going to get, because they were ready.
Matt, I do want to get one more basketball question, and I want to turn over to volleyball before we let you go. And that is, with this 5-game stretch, you mentioned with what the Big East has in store for Creighton before we get to the new year, and you've got Villanova on we'll just call it Doug night, and then you go to Marquette right before the new year. But between then, Central Michigan this weekend at UNLV. Anytime you're going on the road, it's something. UNLV is got their own struggles. Alabama, interesting matchup. It's a primetime game now, and that is at home. If you look at, we were talking about this yesterday, if we're looking at what would be sort of the expected result in that 5-game stretch, anything less than 4-1, would that be, I don't want to say concerning, because I don't think there's major concerns at this point of the year unless there's some type of injury, but would that be disappointing if it was anything less than 4-1?
Probably to a degree. That's probably fair. I think they are going to be favored in 4 of the 5.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the way, first of all, Central Michigan, let's just be honest, that's a bye game. Like, that's a sub 300 team. They're supposed to beat that. Central Michigan played, I think, 3 top 100 teams so far, and I think their average margin of defeat is 28 points in those games. So that one's just kind of a tune-up. If that one, if Creighton drops that one, that's
oh yeah,
that would be a shocker.
We're gonna have a different conversation than on Monday. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. UNLV is an interesting team right now, because obviously they're 3-3 and they're not playing great, but they're also missing Keelan Boone, who would be a 5th-year, 6'8" stretch floor kind of guy. He's a good shooter. He shot 41% last year at Pacific after transferring from Oklahoma State, and his waiver to play hasn't been approved yet, and I don't know. I kind of assumed that he would be eligible by the Creighton game, but as we get closer to it and it still hasn't been resolved yet, I have more doubt, so we'll see. And then they also have Shane Newell, who was a top 70 recruit out of high school at Arizona last year, but didn't play very much and transferred into UNLV, but he's been hurt, and it sounds like he's not close to a return, but the game's a week away, so I don't really know what that involves, but it's a foot injury, so I assume that no matter if he's ready or not by the time Creighton rolls into their gym, that he'll be limited to a degree. So yeah, they might look like a different team by the time Creighton plays them, but right now, you'd assume Creighton would be a heavy favorite in that one. And then Alabama has been really struggling defensively kind of the whole time. Even when you look back at their charity exhibitions, they gave up some big numbers. So that one might just be more like the Iowa game was, where it's just like the first team to 100 takes it. And then Villanova, when you look at the way they're playing right now, like, they have really, really big wins, but they have some perplexing losses when they're healthy. And now you add in the fact that Justin Moore sprained his knee last night and didn't play a whole lot against K-State and didn't return to that game. So his availability is kind of a question mark now, with 2 weeks before they play the Jays, or 3 weeks before they play the Jays. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But yeah, I think right now 4-1 is a realistic expectation for that stretch, because they should be favored in those first 4 games before they go to Milwaukee.
And Matt, we'll get you out on this tomorrow. I guess we can call it some brunch volleyball at 11 a.m. You've got Creighton taking on Louisville. What we saw from Creighton, not necessarily against Colgate, but a team that they went 5 sets with, they disposed of them in 3 sets. They sort of exercised a little bit of the Sokol Arena NCAA tournament ghost, if you will, too. Norris obviously changes this team, and you're taking on a really good Louisville team. What's your expectation and what you plan on seeing tomorrow in this matchup?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a heck of a volleyball match, because I think with Louisville, they're really talented, right? Like Anna DeVere, ACC Player of the Year, Elena Scott, Defensive Player of the Year. They've been an elite team all season. They play a tough schedule. And last year, they have a lot of players back from the team that lost in the national championship game. So imagine the chip that's on their shoulder right now as they go into the second weekend here. So they're going to be fired up. They have a goal in mind, a big picture goal in mind. And then I think the way Creighton's playing right now, combined with the fact that, I think from this point on, no one's really expecting them to win any of these matches. So they have kind of an us against the world mentality of, just roll out, do our thing, and, take it to these teams essentially and not worry about that, play with that kind of like that underdog mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they've swept 16 of the last 17 teams they played. One exception is a four-setter where they lost the first set 25-23 and then dominated the rest of it. So they're on an incredible roll right now. I don't think people quite understand how hard that is to do. I think everyone thinks the Big East is just kind of a, Creighton versus a bunch of little sisters, but it was the sixth toughest conference in the country. They had, multiple postseason teams, 2 NCAA tournament teams, and 1 bubble team. So I mean, it wasn't just a pushover every night. So for the role that Creighton's on right now, it's pretty incredible. And when you look at the way they're playing offensively and defensively, there's only 3 teams in the country or 2 other teams in the country that are doing what they're doing, and that's Pitt and Wisconsin right now. So I think it's going to be a heck of a match because I know Louisville's really good, and Creighton's been playing at an incredible level the last month and a half.
I look forward to it. Matt, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate you coming on. Have a great rest of the week.
You too, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It's Matt DeMarinis again with the White and Blue Review, also on Twitter at MJDMarinis.
I got to say, he's damn good at what he does.
Oh, Matt's plugged in.
Like,
He's plugged in.
You can tell when people have passion for what they do, and as he's talking about it, that was actually the thing I was thinking. I was like, yeah. You can't ever doubt that he doesn't care.
Jimmy's got a man crush on Matt DeMarinis.
It is all just a bunch of respect.
all you Creighton guys, you stick together because you're a Creighton guy now.
I am.
Yeah, you're a pregame host.
Hey, speaking of Creighton guys,
pregame host.
Some.
You're a Jayhawk and a J. What is that?
A JJ.
Is that a JJ Hawk? You're a JJ Hawk. Okay.
I guess
there's such thing.
Speaking of love for Creighton guys, Jimmy
Matt's
Allen,
great, by the way.
Passing on some love for Jimmy Allen. He's going to have Mac on the Creighton Athletics Hour tonight.
All right. There you go.
Mac's a big deal. He works at Creighton.
So I had the Bellevue West girls basketball team members in with former quarterback Adrian Martinez yesterday too.
Yeah. So Jimmy, Adrian, and Mac.
Always giving some.
Well,
love
wait,
to
Adrian won't be with Mac, but Adrian will be on after hours.
Well, yeah. Then
Jimmy will have Mac on the Creighton.
Then we gotta call Adrian a J-Sker because he was with the Huskers and now he's talking to Creighton. Come on.
See, and I'm not taking a side either way, but I got to thinking the other day because this is what happens when I'm alone with my thoughts. I get the whole deal about the J-Sker, but if one is a Creighton fan, what football team are they supposed to root for? Creighton doesn't have a football team.
That's true.
They can't root for Iowa because Creighton's in Nebraska, and so I don't know.
Some people get really,
but I get why people get triggered. I understand. I'm just saying. I
get salty about that. They get salty, man.
I want to learn.
Got a lot of response from the 2 main topics today, and that is the transfer quarterbacks that Nebraska has spoke with, and also the Division I proposal from new NCAA President Charlie Baker. Also, some as always, you guys are delivering today between the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed and the Equitable Bank inbox and the stream. There's. Man, Wednesday brings out the thoughts, but the humor as well. And we'll get to all of that.
Because it's hump day.
It is. We got Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald in about 30 minutes. We'll get back into the transfer portal conversation with Evan. But I do, we just talked Creighton there for 25 minutes. We got to talk to Nebraska. Huge game tonight for Nebraska when it comes to the hope.
Yes, can you feel it?
Fred and Nebraska changing the narrative. And we'll do all of that still to come here. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Caller 4 right now, 402-951-1620. Qualifies for 1620 The Zone's 4-quarter pick'em. It's your chance to pick 4 football games correctly against the spread to win $1,620. Call 402-951-1620. Call now to qualify with 1620 The Zone. Previously on The Crossover.
I want to hear the thank you at the end of it, too.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. When you order a Big Mac at McDonald's.
No, thank you.
Thank you, caller Connor.
Good job, Connor.
No, thank you.
Maybe it was Connor Stallion. No.
It could have been.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Warming up on Wednesday, expect mostly to partly sunny skies. Wind will pick up mid-morning out of the south and southwest, gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs climbing into the mid-50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, we have one accident to report that has the left lane blocked along I-680 at Dodge, so please be cautious if you're in that area. Along westbound I-80, things are slowing down just a little bit near 126th Street, and along Industrial Road, be prepared for some major slowdowns from 149th all the way to Military Avenue. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Have yourself a classic little Christmas. Give Nebraska Lottery Holiday Classic Scratch tickets and Lotto tickets as gifts. They're fast, fun, easy, and make great stocking stuffers, party favors, or last-minute presents. Top prize odds vary by game.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Our Cox mobile plans are like a band. The more people you add, the better it sounds. So add more lines to save more. Pay as low as $30 per line when you add 4 or more gig unlimited lines. It's easy. I like the sound of that. Visit cox.com/mobile. 4 lines required for $30 per line. Price max of 5 lines. Prices exclude taxes, device activation, and other fees and charges, which are subject to change. Cox postpaid internet required. Other restrictions apply.
The Renegades. Sticks.
The Jukebox Heroes. Foreigner.
With very special guest, Sean Waite. August 26th, CHI Health Center, Omaha. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Sticks and Foreigner. The Renegades and Jukebox Heroes Tour.
Experience Omaha's first Indian restaurant and brewery. Jaipur has created delicious Indian food and brews, from the tandoori salmon to the chicken tikka makhani. Jaipur has something for every palate. 2 locations, Rockbrook and Dundee. Come see why Jaipur has been voted first place best of Omaha 18 years in a row.
Tailgate parties call for burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else you could slap on a bun. But those burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else deserve the best buns. And the best buns come from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Crazy fresh, crazy delicious. So for your next party, pick some up at the bakery off 108th and Harrison or at your favorite grocery store. Fire up your grill and get ready for kickoff. Rotella's Italian Bakery, more than 100 years of tradition. Hey, can I get a burger with some cheese, lettuce, and tomato? Thanks.
Do you hear what we hear? Omaha Steaks has tons of jobs and hours. Right now, we're hiring for a variety of seasonal positions in our warehouses. Make this holiday extra jolly with a great employee discount on gourmet foods you can use all year long. To view available job openings and to apply online, go to omahasteaks.com/jobs or text steaks to 22633 to apply today. 'Tis the season to make some holiday cash at Omaha Steaks.
It started in Lincoln. Now it's in Omaha. It's Muchachos. At the heart of Muchachos is family. Muchachos uses new Mexican flavors with smoked barbecue passed down from generations. This flavor sensation is called New Mexican Barbecue Fusion. Come get your eat on and nosh on slow smoked pork brisket, chicken, queso, and mac. Try the fan favorite Hatch Mac Burrito with a craft beer or margarita. Muchachos is south of the Old Market at 1285 South 13th Street, or check them out at yomuchacho.com.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
I go to the Equitable Bank inbox. We said everybody's got some pretty good.
Oh, we got some stuff.
Some stuff today. Humor.
Love it.
Thoughts and otherwise.
People are in a good mood. 55 degrees today. Possible record high.
TL3 says, Creighton alum, root for Lincoln's opponents in football because Husker fans are the equivalent to St. Louis Cardinal fans. I don't really have a bone with UNL. Well, one, the Husker fans are buttheads. He said something else.
Paraphrasing.
And deserve to be unhappy.
But I appreciate the feedback. I like learn because I got to thinking about this, especially after Nick said that in the this be Nick Baugh.
Nick Baugh,
confuse the Grimms and Handleys, and but when he said that in the TV broadcast the other day, and I'm thinking, I mean, I get it, I know, I mean, I've been here long enough, but you want to know even more and just kind of dig into the whole deal, and I kind of like learning about the Creighton versus Nebraska rivalry, and from the fan standpoint, I know the rivalry, but I'm saying from you people. Like, you guys have lived it forever.
Yeah.
I enjoy taking all of it in because this is home now. So you know some, but you want to know all.
Yes. No, I
just get in the mindset. Both sides. It's not even.
I always
I'm
enjoy the
curious.
outside perspective, Jimmy. I think you bring a unique perspective because you married into the Husker family, but you also spend a lot of time in the Big 12. You're familiar with Nebraska, very much so, before you even got
We're a
here.
Big 12 school.
That's right. There'll always be a Big
Long live the real Big 12.
The Big 8, baby.
Yeah.
If you really want to get Big 12 fandom, we got to.
Phillips 66.
Yeah. Also in the Equitable Bank inbox, and again, this going back to the quarterback question. Jeff says, what do you think about Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall to Nebraska?
I like Grayson McCall.
He has very impressive numbers and doesn't turn the ball over. Only 1 year of eligibility, but it would give us a bridge to get our younger QBs, Kalen, a year to redshirt and learn. That is from Jeff. Jeff, appreciate that. That is the
I'm with
third
Jeff.
Grayson
I like
McCall call, if you will. Yeah. Grayson McCall, again,
I
perspective.
wouldn't write him off.
If you're a numbers person, and first of all, we'll give you the stature, 6'3", 220 pounds.
He's a big dude.
He is. He's a 1 year guy. This year he was. Now, see, this is what I like about Grayson McCall. This is sort of the trend that I think you
the mullet.
Did
he have the mohawk?
He's had
both.
He's had some different looks going on.
Sign me up.
Go back to the COVID year.
Why?
For just where it all got started for significant playing time for Grayson McCall.
I remember.
He's gone from, and this is the number that I like more than anything. Okay, the interceptions are down. He was 10-6 this year. 24-2 last year, 27-3 the previous year, 26-3 the previous year. What happened?
He was still at Coastal this year, right? He didn't follow Chadwick to Liberty.
Nope, he was at Coastal. But this is what I like the most about Grayson McCall, and there has not been any word or anything that I'm aware of. I have not seen Flight Tracker making its way out to the Coastal Carolina region today, but completion percentage 68%, 73%, 70%, 68%. Yeah, I can live with that.
You have a Nebraska connection out there that could give you a little more feedback.
Yeah.
You can call Joe Magilla.
Moglia. Yeah.
Moglia.
Mm-hmm.
Pick his brain. See what he thinks. Would this guy be a good fit?
Oh,
All right,
I don't think there's any doubt. I think Grayson.
he would be a really
Grayson
good
McCall. I think is another one of those rare quarterbacks that's going to fetch a decent number.
Yeah.
He reminds me, and I get it.
He can
they're
run,
they're
he can
playing
throw.
FBS football, but he reminds me of one of those highly accomplished FCS quarterbacks
Winners are winners.
that is primed to play at a big time school, give them an immediate lift, and probably make a good chunk of change in the process. I'm not saying.
Put it to you this way: go watch those FCS playoffs. The guy on the stream earlier said USD, South Dakota State, North Dakota State.
Yeah,
those schools are littered with winners on the field. They know how to win. So winners are winners regardless of level. And if they can translate into the next level, you can always have a winner in the locker room.
Yeah, I'm not going to say Grayson McCall is somebody that Grayson McCall would be an instant upgrade. The only reason I would have some hesitancy on that is because I don't know. In fact, I feel a little bit more confident that if they are, when I say if they are, they're going to get a quarterback out of the transfer portal, and it may not even be like their first or even second option because they might lose out to somebody else. That's the reality. I just don't see Nebraska putting heavy emphasis on the 1-year guy.
Preferably 2 years. But here's the thing. It's like buying a car. If it's the right fit, it's the right fit.
And that's the thing. It has to be the absolute
if it's a 1-year guy and it's the fit, that's your guy.
And I don't want to say Nebraska would do it on the cheap, but I almost feel like this, going back to the amount of years of eligibility you have, that if you are going to pay a decent NIL price, that you're probably going to pay that to someone that you can have for multiple years.
And Bickley on the stream has a great idea. Why don't we just have Greg in Myrtle Beach call?
I know. Yeah.
Myrtle Beach, Conway, 15 miles.
We need to know what's going on.
He'll know. He's gone to Coastal games.
Yeah,
give us a breakdown of Grayson
McCall is good, though. McCall is good.
He is. I've seen him in person.
I've not heard any link yet. I've not heard any conversations.
Right.
I feel like over the last couple of days, if you would have told me that the very first quarterback Nebraska would have spoken to would have been Will Howard, I would have actually been surprised by that, even though he's not that far away. Like you're actually making the trip over to Manhattan to talk to him. For a guy that I thought would be, and I not thought, he is in high demand with even more successful schools.
Also a good fit.
And a lot of money. Not that Nebraska doesn't have the money, but a lot more successful schools than Nebraska are going to be into him and have probably a little bit better track record of getting guys to the league as well. That was at least showed that Nebraska is willing. I thought the Sam Levitt, that seems, and I know Gary's brought up Sorsby from Indiana. That's another guy that I would be interested in to see if Nebraska's kicking the tires on too. But the Sam Levitt one, given the amount of eligibility he has left, seems like it fits the profile a little bit more of what they want to do, because if you're bringing in the 1-year guy, it's not putting the utmost pressure on like the you play that sounder during these conversations and I get excited. What do we got?
Chris Hummer of 24/7 Sports. Met him before. Great football dude.
Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, he reports that Jeff Sims is expected to take his combo meal and talents to the transfer portal. But I thought he was going to start next year, and all these guys were just vying to back him up.
Okay, this is going to sound very, very, very insensitive.
You're out on the Chris Meat burrito, kind of upsets the tummy.
I love Chris Meat
They're
burritos.
good, but do they love you back?
And can we note the record? You said tummy.
I said tummy.
What took so long? I know it's
the truth, though.
It's not like I'm saying, hey, don't let the old door hit you where the good Lord split you. But I thought that'd be like one of the first names out. You know, was there serious contemplation of just sticking around? I don't know. Look, I hope I know we said Georgia State.
Let's relive our favorite Jeff Sims memories.
Oh, the
hoodie. It's a sweet hoodie.
The touchdown run against Colorado, and some of those early runs against Minnesota.
I still go with the hoodie.
You know what was great about those is he got yards and the ball stayed in the bread basket.
Yeah, I like bread, carbs.
Man, yeah. I feel. I mean, it's not surprising at all, but it was just we started to get a little further down the road and there was nothing coming from the Sims camp. And you're just thinking, huh? And you still knew like in your big brain that
on Brad,
he had to, like it was more likely than not that he was going to be on the move. But
yeah,
I feel like the fact that Nate Borkature was the first guy, or I'm sorry, not Nate Borkature. Jesus, I'm already putting Nate Borkature in the. Yeah, don't sound that.
Someone turned it on out of context. What?
No,
get on Shafe's board right now. What is this
not
going?
Nate Borkature. Jake Applegate. Sorry, that Jake Applegate was the first one to go, and not Jeff Sims. Like that's just like I won't say like, oh, I was shocked that Jake Applegate left. But I'd be more surprised if you said, hey, who is more likely to transfer, Jeff Sims or Jake Applegate? I said Jeff Sims. So, I mean, just create a little drama. I don't know.
There you go.
Look, it's going to be so easy to write off Jeff Sims and
He's
say,
a good kid. It just didn't work out.
as our friend Gary says, thanks for the memes. But yeah, he's a hell of a teammate.
You wanted it to work out for him. People liked him.
Yeah,
people didn't have any animosity towards him. It just wasn't meant to be.
When you've got the turnover gene, the turnover bug that you can't overcome, all of the other parts of like Jeff Sims is a big guy, physical guy. There was arm strength there. There's arm talent there. Now, don't confuse that with accuracy, but there were tools in Jeff Sims' game that it's like very, very disappointing because all of those things fall by the wayside when you can't take care of the football. And when you can actually anticipate it coming because either it was a drop snap or a fumble or a play was off schedule, or you turned the wrong side and, the play was a bust, you could see like within the next couple plays following that, if he was on the field, there was going to be something else coming. And that stinks. And it would have been so easy for him to isolate himself. And that's why I do think like the single digit number thing. And I know some people are still trying to, the jury's still out on, okay, what does that really mean when, Jeff Sims, I think it's more indicative of the guy as a person and as a presence as opposed to what they do on the field. Although you're, most likely given that the guys are going to play a lot of reps. I think maybe we shouldn't be surprised that he handled it so well because it just seems like that's the type of guy he is. But when you think of just abilities that you could see even during major struggles of taking care of the football, it's like excruciating to watch because I know you say, but if you could just take care of the football, because that's a lot easier said than done. But if you could have just taken care of the football, what type of quarterback could Jeff Sims ultimately have become? And what is the root of that? What is the root of those turnovers? Because it wasn't just a Nebraska thing.
Was it ifs and buts for candy and nuts?
Yeah, it's true. It happened at Georgia Tech too. But there you go. If you're just tuning in, as Jimmy mentioned, Chris Hummer of 24/7 Sports. Nebraska quarterback Jeff Sims is expected to enter the transfer portal. The source saying Husker season opening starter and a multi-year starter at Georgia Tech. Sims has thrown for 4,476 yards and has ran for 1,341 yards in his career.
Hey, what if he transferred somewhere in the Big Ten?
But he did leave out some important numbers there too, and that would be the turnovers. And the fact that out of, was it 40 pass attempts? Did you had six interceptions?
It's a lot.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's not a good ratio. All right, we're coming back. Evan Bland in 10 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the quarterback situation for Nebraska, portaling. I know Evan loves covering that. And more from you as well as we continue here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is your home for the big game. Whether it's the NFL or a rivalry on the hardwood, you will find all the action on Oscar's top-of-the-line audio-video system. With 40 TVs and massive dual projectors, the game has never looked better. Pair that with their award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials, Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has everything you need. 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Kugler Vision. The year is coming to a close, and you might have money sitting in your flex plan or in your health savings account. If so, it is time for an early holiday gift for yourself. It has now been almost 6 years since I ditched those glasses for good. I had been wearing them for close to 2 decades. Book an appointment today. Give them a call at 402-558-2211 or visit their website and take the vision quiz today. It's KuglerVision.com.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
With over 45 years in business, Thrasher Foundation Repair makes stressful home repairs super easy with precise repair and genuine care. From basement waterproofing to foundation repair, concrete restoration, and crawl space repair, you can count on Thrasher to handle it with ease and expertise. Schedule a free estimate today at gothrasher.com.
Precise repair, genuine care. Thrasher.
Creighton Sports Update.
Hey, Blue Jay fans, it's basketball season here at Creighton, so get your tickets and come out and support your Blue Jays. For tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com, gocreighton.com/tickets, or visit the ticket office located at Ryan Athletic Center. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
Did you know that radon is the number one cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone Deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com. 1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, we're going to talk some Husker hoops in the 9 o'clock hour. Nebraska trying to change the narrative. I've been saying that a lot. What does that mean? Well,
It literally means that you're changing the
We've
narrative.
seen Nebraska get beat by Creighton before. We've seen them get rocked by Creighton before. But this is an experienced team. This is an older team, oldest team in the Big Ten. Can they not allow that game to beat them twice? You know how it goes. And they're playing a very winnable matchup tomorrow night or tonight. I don't want to say.
Yeah, you don't want Jeff Braun calling in. Don't ever call a matchup winnable.
Not winnable, but a good opportunity tonight. At the barn. Can they get back on the old train there? And
yeah, this isn't Clem Haskins and Bobby Jackson.
Because I'm telling you, if they can win, if they can look good tonight, get off to a good start in Big Ten play, I think there's something there to be said about the age of this team and try to see what they can recover from. But if you remember yesterday, as we're talking about quarterbacks, we're going to be doing so more with Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald here in about 5 minutes. Iowa JD just tweeted this at me. Do you know who Zach Gelb is? He's with CBS Sports Radio. He's host of Eye on Football. He's also a Heisman voter. He's got predictions when it comes to transfer quarterbacks and where they might go. Are you ready? Because remember, I brought up that BetOhio.com poll yesterday of the odds for transfer quarterbacks going where. And remember, we brought up one Kyle McCord, there was a 9% chance, and I believe it was plus 1,000 odds that he would wind up in Nebraska. Well, here's a little bit more context of the conversation. And again, these are just predictions. Nobody knows anything, but it's just fun to connect the dots. All right. So Dylan Gabriel, Jimmy, where do you think Dylan Gabriel might be going? Or according to Zach Gelb, where he has Dylan Gabriel on the prediction meter?
I don't think I've read it, so I'm just going to go out and guess he's going to be a Duck.
Yes, very good. Cam Ward, the aforementioned Cameron Ward, formerly of Washington State. Where might Cam Ward be going in the prediction pool?
Not Nebraska.
Nope.
Actually, I come to think of it, I have seen this, and I disagree with him because I saw who he has going to Nebraska.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Ohio State.
Okay. Oh.
DJ Uiagalelei, Florida State. Riley Leonard,
A&M.
Notre Dame.
Oh, I'm sorry. They got an ACC pipeline in Notre Dame.
Kyle McCord, Nebraska.
He's going to be in. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm. That's according to Zach Gelb. And the reason that Iowa JD has sent me this is because if you go back to Iowa JD's tweet earlier, it says, please let McCord go to Nebraska. He can't run. His offense sucked, and he had an NFL line and NFL wide receivers. Nebraska has none of this. This will be a glorious disaster.
A beautiful disaster, if you will. Got to get it right.
What would be better, Iowa JD, Joey Labus or Kyle McCord? Joey Labus also in the transfer portal from Iowa. Mm-hmm. Just saying. Yeah, I don't. Again, when I think of the four that Nebraska have talked to, unless I'm totally missing out on something right now, it just doesn't seem to fit the profile what Nebraska wants to do.
I don't know if I'm trying to manifest it. I
think it would cost. And I think it would cost them a lot too.
Yeah, if you're going to spend that kind of money, it better be worth it.
And I understand maybe they wanted Will Howard, and that's not going to happen. Maybe they do really want Sam Leavitt, but Sam Leavitt, you know what? He's looking elsewhere. He's going to go to Utah. I don't know.
McCall.
I don't think that pursuit is even close to being done.
That I'm biased because I think he's good.
But anytime we can get some people in the business and the industry starting to weigh in on predictions,
always talk about them.
Yeah. This reminds me of 2 years ago because it was a little bit more quiet, and all of a sudden you heard it one day and the next day it was official that Jeff Sims was going to be in Nebraska. 2 years ago, though, the amount of connecting, is it Casey Thompson coming to Nebraska? Is Casey Thompson maybe going to go to Oklahoma? Oh, what about that Chubba Purdy guy? Well, Mark Whipple used to have a relationship with him, recruited him at Pitt. So, hey, well, you're going to get one of them. Are you going to get two? Then you start hearing, man, there's a possibility they could get both. How are they going to get both? Because you're going to have one guy for 2 years. Why would that one guy come out of the transfer portal and take a back seat? Well, then all of a sudden you get both of them. That's what this year feels like, where there is a lot of trying to connect the dots. You're going to get your power rankings of the transfer quarterbacks that are available. You're going to look at, okay, what makes the best fit? Who has talked to said quarterback? And so much information that we'll try to sift through. Like, I totally buy into even though Sam Leavitt is talked, and that was made official that he did meet with Nebraska, even with, the flight tracker and getting information there, and maybe hearing from a person who knows a person talking about how the meetings did go. A lot of this is just more of a fit and speculation. And I don't know if what I'm really hearing until we get close to it. I don't know if Nebraska is that close right now. That's my gut feeling. I don't think they're that close right now to really zeroing in on any guy to where they're about ready to push it across the goal line now.
They're on Auto Trader and they're just kind of scrolling.
Yeah, I don't know. But there you go. Kyle McCord. We'll see you in Lincoln, buddy.
Coming to Nebraska. Yep, you're here first. And no longer to back up Jeff Sims.
Yeah, it's one prediction. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Evan Bland. We'll get his thoughts on all the quarterbacks linked to Nebraska, what he's looking for, not only from that position, but also in the transfer portal, his thoughts on the season, and if we have time, I'll get his early thoughts on Nebraska baseball since he covers both of that. Evan joins us right after the break. Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, we have one accident to report that has the left lane blocked along I-680 at Dodge, so please be cautious if you're in that area. Along westbound I-80, things are slowing down just a little bit near 126th Street, and along Industrial Road, be prepared for some major slowdowns from 149th all the way to Military Avenue. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott.
This holiday season, give the gift of fun. Give the gift of education at Omaha Children's Museum. Black Friday through New Year's Eve, save $25 when you give the gift of membership at Omaha Children's Museum. Visit ocm.org for more information.
Suicide can be prevented by knowing the warning signs. And most importantly, knowing what to do if you recognize those signs in yourself, a loved one, or even a stranger. There are simple ways you can be there for someone, so they can be here for more tomorrows. Visit moretomorrowsne.org to learn the signs, how to approach the conversation, and where to get help. Or call 988 for help now. That's moretomorrowsne.org.
Sure, you could go elsewhere for your health and wellness products, or better yet, why not just come to 42 Degrees? Those other places don't even come close to the wide variety and premium disposable e-juice, CBD, Delta, Kratom, glass pipes, vaporizers, and other great products. With the friendliest, most knowledgeable, and professional staff who will find the right products just for you. If you're looking for a one-stop shopping experience, look no further. 42 Degrees. By your mom's house.
Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
It's time to save big every day during our 25 days of deals at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 50% off select artificial Christmas trees, holiday lights, and more. Plus, get 40% off and free local truck delivery on select vanities to elevate your bathroom. Find these savings in-store and online today, because Lowe's knows deals every day. Valid through 12/6 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Wendy's Peppermint Frosty and Frosty Cream Cold Brew make the perfect gift for anyone in your life. Especially for you. You. Yourself what you want. Finally. And now every day this season, unlock 20% off your total with any small, medium, or large Frosty in the Wendy's app. So order something from your own wish list this year.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's with app offer and registration. Applies to menu items only. Taxes and fees excluded.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Final hour on Wednesday mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy. Gary gone all week. In fact, he is in the Lone Star State. It is the Omaha men's basketball team taking on Texas Tech tonight. They've got a game in the Lone Star State Saturday night as well.
Down on the beach.
Yeah. Gary will be with us back on Monday. And will Nebraska have a transfer quarterback? Well, we do have some portal news if you're just joining us, and that is, I maybe sounded insensitive because I asked the question what took so long, but it does sound like all reports, Jeff Sims will be entering the transfer portal. So
the Will Howard hamburger.
You're really speaking the Will Howard one into existence, aren't
I'm
you?
just creating NIL deals.
You're just trying to.
We had a listener email the Harburger.
Yeah.
But that's
pretty
probably not going to
popular one.
happen. Yeah. I don't know what Chubba would have. A churro?
I do know Chubb at one point was doing some
Purdy patty melt.
He was doing some NIL stuff, I think last year. Not this current
Apparently
season,
all
but
my
last
NIL
year.
deals are food.
Yeah, he was doing some. I think I get the feeling Chubb is a golfer because I think he was doing stuff with Austats, if I remember correctly. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I know at one point he
Not
was.
always food. Remember LeGarrette Blunt? He could have been doing stuff for dispensary. If he had gone to Colorado, I mean, he was
that'd
in
have
Oregon,
been too easy.
so, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I have ideas.
That's good. Keep them flowing, man. We're idea driven. All right, excited to bring on a guy that I just enjoy talking
Chubba
to.
Chili. We had someone just
the
Five
Well, that
Guys,
could be
the
good.
Chubba Burger.
Chubba Chili. Okay. Might give you some Chubba Chili afterwards, too. But looking forward to talking to Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. We didn't get a chance to catch up with Evan as much, and always appreciate our conversations. Evan, good morning. How are you?
Morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. So how's Flight Tracker going for you today? Are you do you get up at a certain time of the day? I mean, what's the schedule like right now during transfer portal season?
Yeah, it's something. You know, I take my kid to school every morning and checking Flight Tracker apps, and it's a way to live. You know, I'm not sure if it's the recommended way, but it's one way to do it. And yeah, every day is a little bit different, which is kind of fun.
Do you maybe like allow your kid to help you with Flight Tracker? Because, you know, I mean, the kids like to look at those types of things, see an airplane going from one place to the other. I mean, can you get the kid involved?
Well, the key is you got to make it an educational opportunity.
Yeah.
So, like, do you know that there's more than one Columbus? It's not just Columbus, Nebraska. There's Columbus, Ohio. Do you know where Waco is?
Yeah.
You know, how do you spell Waco? Like, that's what you got to do is you got to make it an educational moment.
I know Matt Rule is the only one, and really Marcus Satterfield as well, the only one who can really answer this clearly. But if you were to guess, and based on what you heard a week ago from Matt Rule and talking about quarterback play overall for Nebraska, is there a certain profile, Evan, that you have when it comes to the ideal fit of what Nebraska might be looking for in the transfer portal with a quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. And I think for what it's worth, it might be different from what it was a year ago. Like, I thought the impression that I got from coaches last year was that the defense might take a while, and so you're going to need somebody who's dynamic at that quarterback position to generate points. And I think what they kind of came to realize as the season went on was, whoa, this is a defense that you can rely on, and that, you know, they're going to set a standard where all you need to do is score, 25 points, and you feel pretty good about your chances of winning. And of course, the issues cropped up with ball security, and it just wasn't feasible to continue with Sims. So, like, I think that's what they're looking for moving forward. And that's, like, you saw that blueprint play out as the season went on, which was find somebody who can take care of the ball, who is accurate, and is able to process quickly in the moment where the ball should go, and lean on your offensive line, let your skill position players cook and do their thing. And that should be enough. And, I kind of see that in some of these guys that they're looking at. I mean, Will Howard, Blake Shapen, Sam Levitt, there's really not much of a film built up on him yet, but like, these are guys, generally speaking, who have a little bit of speed to them. They're not total statues. They're accurate. You look at especially Howard and Shapen. I mean, those are guys who are completing a little more than 60% of their passes. Their touchdown interception ratio is good. Like, that's what you're looking for, I think, is not somebody who's necessarily going to be the big play guy, but who just takes care of the ball, and then you let your other elements of your team do their thing, whether that's the defense and then obviously special teams as well. So I think that's kind of what they're looking for. And then, you think about what Rule said a couple weeks ago too, which was if you're looking for a one and done player in the portal, which guys like Shapen and Kyle McCord and Will Howard are, then Nebraska needs to view those guys as big impact, upgrade sort of players. So I think that part's interesting. And then the other thing I would say too is, you think about the week before the portal opened, there was a lot of conversation about, well, is Nebraska even going to go that hard into the portal? Or are they going to dip, or are they going to lean maybe more on development of Harburg and Purdy and go that route? And I think what we've seen with the 4 quarterbacks already that are publicly connected to Nebraska is that they're very much determined and convicted on finding a way to upgrade that position here this offseason.
And I want to the Kyle McCord one was interesting to me. And you mentioned a 1-year guy. We saw one of the contributors for CBS Sports Radio predicting Kyle McCord to Nebraska. And again, that's all these are predictions, and we can only go off of what the latest rumor or news is as far as who's visiting who. Was out of the 4 that we know Nebraska's had conversations with, any of them surprise you that Nebraska did have a conversation? Any of them that you thought maybe was not going to be even worth entertaining because it might cost too much? Any thoughts on just the 4 that you've heard of other than what you just laid out there?
I think of the 4, McCord would be the one that surprises me the most. Like, I think he's probably the least mobile of that group,
right?
Which it seems like that's something Nebraska has been valuing and continues to value moving forward. Just the fact that he was in the portal at all was surprising, given what the season he just had at Ohio State and the fact that he was going to be in the mix to lead the Buckeyes again next year. So, like, I don't know. I don't know his situation, but when I look just from the outside at all the pieces to that thing, you wonder how much, money is involved in that. Because again, he had the playing time, he had the success, he was at a place where he was being successful with good position players around him. Like, I don't know from a on the field perspective how much more you could ask for in that situation. So I wonder, what that looks like. I do think the other guys generally do fit what Nebraska's looking for. Again, Levitt's the guy with 4 years of eligibility left. If you, as a coaching staff, feel like he's got clay to be molded, then yeah, you can. That's a guy that makes sense to pursue. And then Howard and Chapin are guys, kind of like we just said, who take care of the ball, who are accurate, who can make plays with their legs when needed, who have been proven winners, and who have connections to the staff or to the school and in different sort of roundabout ways. So I think McCord's probably the one that stands out. I guess we'll see how that plays out, and if anyone else comes onto the radar as we go into day 3 of the 30-day portal window here. But early impressions, I guess it would be those for me.
Evan, we've discussed this on the show the last couple of days. I'd like to get your thoughts. How important do you think it is for Nebraska to try to get a quarterback in the mix early so they can kind of finish the transfer portal with other potential offensive upgrades?
Yeah, I think it's a factor for sure. Like, I always get the sense, and I feel like I've asked this to players over the years about like how important is it to get in and help recruit, and like it feels like this generation, generally speaking, just kind of likes to let guys do their own thing. So I don't know that whoever comes in is necessarily a guy who is going to recruit other players, but I do think it helps when you're laying out your pitches to other players. And I think Nebraska is probably in the market for a wide receiver at some point. So that would help, right? To know who that guy's going to be throwing you the football and what kind of offense maybe you're going to run. I think whoever they land, will impact or have a say in what kind of offense Nebraska is going to run next year. So I think all that plays into it as well. But again, what they'll tell you is this is a guy who's going to come in and compete and be part of the mix with Purdy and Harburg, and we'll see what happens with Sims here today officially. But it's somebody who hopefully can push that room and make everybody better and provide some leadership and that sort of thing. So we'll see how that part of it goes. But I think the sooner you can get clarity on what your offense is going to look like and you can start moving forward with roster construction, the better.
Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald joining us. Evan, and you hit the nail on the head right there where I wanted to go next. The direction of this offense, look, Marcus Satterfield's still going to be there. We know that. Do we know what exactly his role will be outside of being the OC? And I think you know where I'm getting to when it comes to if, say, they get a Sam Levitt, okay, just using him as an example because he's got 4 years of eligibility. You've got Danny Kaelin coming in. Who will be developing those quarterbacks to get that position in that offense elevated?
Right. That's, I think, another interesting piece to when Nebraska does get a quarterback is what was the pitch that coaches made to them about their situation. And I think there are a lot of pieces to that. There's what does the offense look like piece. I don't think you're going to be wanting to replay a lot of the the film from this past season in that regard. And then there's the piece that you're talking about with the coach. And I thought it was interesting that Matt Rule a couple of weeks ago, and after his after the season presser that he had, talked about it pretty openly, that the original vision for Marcus Satterfield was to be the offensive coordinator and the tight ends coach, and then you have a quarterbacks coach separate who could come in and work with quarterbacks specifically. And that's not the way it went. And it was reported that Jake Peets was someone who they targeted and it didn't work out. And so they went a different way with tight end, and they ended up having an analyst in Josh Martin, who was the guy there this season. So like, you can see, you can kind of envision a scenario where they are able to bring in a quarterbacks coach, whether that means Josh Martin goes back. However you want to restructure the offensive staff to bring somebody in, it does seem like that was the original vision. That's probably something that they would like to do moving forward. And again, like, if you're talking to Will Howard right now and you're talking to Blake Shapen and Sam Levitt and Kyle McCord, like, what are you telling them about who their coach is going to be? Like, that's a pretty key piece of that conversation. So maybe Nebraska has that figured out, and they're sharing that with these guys, and maybe it's still a work in progress, and that's why some of this process will take a little bit longer to play out. So I think we'll have to figure that out. But again, like, it's in this condensed off season where everyone's scrambling to fill their roster as quick as they can. There's certainly a sense of urgency for Nebraska to lock things down sooner than later.
As far as the transfer portal goes, too, I know we want to spend a lot of time on the offense, but defensively, too, now knowing that you got the biggest, I don't want to say addition, but retention when it comes to Tony White, and a little bit of that scare of him possibly going elsewhere. You got him back. This defense for its core is coming back, but linebacker, maybe you could always look at a corner as well. If there's somebody out there that makes sense, how active do you think Nebraska will be on the defensive side?
I don't think too active. Linebacker is one I think you could make a move on. Some of that might depend on what John Bullock decides to do to come back for another year. It kind of sounded like right after the season he was leaning toward being done, but the longer things go, maybe that's a better sign that he is thinking about coming back. Mekhi Bear was somebody who got a lot of action there as the season went on. But, unless you really feel like some of the guys that you redshirted or some of the younger players are ready to step up into a bigger role, then I think you can certainly make the case that Nebraska could add one guy there. And again, some of it's like just a matter of simple numbers. Like, they're already at 99 or 100 scholarships. You got to get down to 85 by fall camp. You're already talking about adding a quarterback, maybe a receiver. So there's a lot of attrition already that's going to have to occur. So I don't know that you necessarily have the luxury of adding a bunch of pieces on the defensive side. And part of the benefit of how they played it last year with so many guys seeing meaningful snaps is that maybe there's that transition's not as rough as it kind of can look like if you had played 12 or 13 guys most of the way. So I think they feel pretty good about some of the young players on that side of the ball. You hear about guys like Eric Fields and Dylan Rogers and some of these young guys, Dwight Boodle as a potential corner, who these are all guys who redshirted this year, who I think they feel good about jumping in right away. So I don't know that you have that luxury. I don't know that they necessarily need to add a bunch. So I would say, maybe a linebacker. And then there's always that adage that if there's a great defensive lineman on the market, you're going to take him and figure it out after that. But I don't anticipate them taking maybe more than two on that side of the ball.
As the dominoes fall in the transfer portal, we mentioned what maybe some coaching responsibilities will be as well. When you look at sort of the next phase of this offseason for Nebraska, we know that the early signing date is coming up as well. But when we get through kind of all of that, the next phase of this offseason, what direction, where do you kind of go from there after we kind of get a better idea of this roster?
Well, yeah, once you get through December, you've got your early signing class locked down. Most of your portal guys, or some at least of your portal guys, will be here. That window closes on the 2nd of January, which only means you have to be in the portal at that time. But there is quite a bit of movement in January as well of guys making that decision. There are going to be guys that are going in the portal here in a week or two that we don't even know about yet, who will be taking official visits and thinking things through. And so the pertinent date for Nebraska with UNL classes starting, I think, is the 20th or the 22nd of January. So there's just still going to be a few more weeks of potential visits and making sure guys are coming in at that point. But from there, it's winter conditioning. It's the mat drills that they started last year, and then it's just getting bigger and stronger in another year in Corey Campbell's weight training room, and another year of nutrition with Kristen Coggins and how they build up their athletes that way. So I think that's the next part in what Nebraska wants to be a developmental program, is to develop the guys, and then spring ball will start a couple months after that. So I think that's kind of where it's going to go. Is you'll see a little bit of roster movement in January, and otherwise it's a lot of behind the scenes work to get those guys better for next year.
Evan, you've probably been asked this question many times after the season, and maybe it's not as simple as successful versus unsuccessful, but when you look at the totality of the 2023 season under Matt Rule, given the landscape of the Big Ten next year without divisions, how did you assess this year for Nebraska under Matt Rule in this first year?
Well, I think if it's a yes/no question of was it a success, I think you probably have to say no, given how it ended with 4 straight losses and falling short of a bowl game, given the schedule that they had down the stretch, given the offensive struggles, especially with turnovers. But, if it's more of an essay sort of answer, then I think there was a lot of success. And to me, like, the biggest thing that you can do in year one as a staff is to establish that culture piece, and like, what's the standard? How are we going to win games? What do we want to be all about? And I really think that you heard it from players all season long. I mean, they adopted his process about 1% better and relentless, disciplined, violent, and like all the things that they teach. And, I thought Rule said it pretty well at his presser last week, where he kind of felt like by the end of the year, his process was becoming their process. And like, that's just how they are going to go about doing things. And so now again, you have an off season where you continue to develop the guys that you have, where you continue to upgrade the talent through the portal and through recruiting and all the rest. And so like you would hope the talent, the depth would continue to improve. And this coaching staff has a track record of doing that. But again, like the culture piece about, trying to win the fourth quarter and, hitting hard on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in practice and all the rest, like that now is something that they know to expect. And that's something that players can lead, and things go from there. So what'll be interesting as we move forward is the schedule does get more difficult next year. So like, it's possible Nebraska gets better, and it's not necessarily reflected dramatically in the win-loss record because of the caliber of opponents that they're playing. But I do think they set that foundation for what they can be moving forward. And again, you'd love to have 6 wins or 7 wins, and they were close to that this year. But I think they also have a better sense of what it takes to win the Big Ten, and that could lead to a bigger jump next year.
Evan, before I let you go, I know it's this, what are we on, the 6th of December right now, but it's crazy to think before we know it, once class resumes in the spring semester, we will have baseball coming at us fast and furious. Any early thoughts on the type of season Will Bolt and this Nebraska baseball? Again, a lot of new faces added to some core guys. What this season might look like? Some of your early thoughts on this team.
Yeah, I mean, from a big picture perspective, baseball is going to go through what football just did, and that's sort of the last, farewell tour of the Big Ten structure as we know it. So, like, in a year from now, we're going to be talking about how good is UCLA and USC and Washington and those guys. So this is sort of that last chance to win the league as it is. As for the team, like, it'll be interesting. Like, I don't think they have, at least it doesn't appear that they're going to have those, high-end individual hitters the way they did with, Bryce and Max last year. But I do think they have some depth there. I think they have some speed there. To me, one of the big questions, I guess, of the season is how much more depth is there on the pitching side. And it does seem like that was something that they addressed in the offseason. They brought in a lot of really high upside arms. And I think you see that reflected not just in the weekend series where you have your top guys, but in those midweeks that Nebraska has struggled in, where it's been hard to find a guy who even can go 5 innings, who can give you 5 good innings, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So I think that part's interesting to me. And, the other big storyline that I'll watch is what's the Rob Childress effect on that staff as he comes back into that on the field role. And when I look at a lot of these arms that Nebraska has, I mean, they're swing and miss type of arms, but the command hasn't always been there. And Childress is someone who has, a long track record of helping guys, simplify their mechanics and, have that command be a plus thing for them. So like, even if he can, straighten out even like 40% of those guys, like Nebraska could be really interesting next year. So I think that's kind of the first thing that I look at. And then, again, maybe the depth of the lineup and some of the different ways that they can score through speed and power there. But it seems like it's another team that, should contend for that upper half of the Big Ten, and you see how things play out early. But I think the depth piece maybe is the one that's the most interesting when you talk about Nebraska taking that next step back to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and we know it today and tomorrow they'd be outside practicing because it's going to be that nights out. But I can't wait for it. Hey, Evan, always appreciate you coming on. If I don't get a chance to talk to you before the holidays, man, have a great holiday. Merry Christmas to you and your great family too. Always appreciate you coming on, my man.
Hey, thanks, Nick. We'll see you.
All right, that's Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Always great stuff covering Husker football and Husker baseball. The whole part of what's going back to the football conversation real quick, and we'll do so here in a moment on the other side of the break. Also talk some Husker hoops, but that was a question that was posed earlier in the week of which team out of the Big Ten West, Jimmy, might be best positioned to survive, I guess, in the new Big Ten, the divisionless Big Ten. And I remember Brian Christopherson saying, I'm not trying to make a homer take here, but I think he went, he said, I'm going to go with Nebraska. And I think the reason he said that, and the reason that I don't hate that answer, is because I don't think anybody is. Like Wisconsin, I got to say, to me, when they got Luke Fickell and you had, Phil Longo, Tanner Mordecai, you started to see them begin to transition into what they wanted to do and what was probably going to allow them to be more competitive at a wide open Big Ten rate than just within the restraints of the Big Ten West. They were disappointing. And they battled injuries. So did Nebraska. So did Iowa. So did Minnesota. I mean, everybody did. But can you honestly look at one team in the Big Ten West and say, yeah, you can see that's going to translate into the wide open Big Ten?
No,
I couldn't.
I know Fickell wants it to be, and it may eventually, but they've got to have an overhaul.
Yeah,
which they're in the process of doing.
Yeah, I that's why it softens the blow a little bit more of the way Nebraska ended. But that's why this part of the season is so important, of roster management, as we talk about the transfer portal, as we talk about everything else that impacts this team and trying to make a year two jump. As much as we hate talking about this, because we'd rather be talking about a bowl game right now. That's Captain Obvious speak right now. Rather be talking about a bowl game right now. If you're going to sort of emerge from the Big Ten West and show that you can at least compete and be on the same field week in and week out with the new additions of the Big Ten and the big bad old Big Ten East, this is a very important part of that process. And you're doing so without the luxury of 15 extra practices with the guys that will have back. So how do you maximize the opportunities that you do have? And that's the big question for this coaching staff. And part of those questions, I know everybody wants to focus on who's going to be the quarterback. I do as well. But I think that role that Marcus Satterfield plays in the upcoming season which position group he is overseeing, I think is also going to be a huge part of that.
It's a red button issue.
Huge part
understandably
of that. All right, going to take a look at Nebraska's matchup with Minnesota tonight. It's a big one for the Huskers, opening up Big Ten play. We'll also get some of your comments through the stream, email, and Twitter or X. Do we officially have
still
to,
Twitter?
Do we have to officially call it X?
Stuff.
All right, mornings
Only
with
X
Sharp and
is,
Handley.
Xavier McDaniel.
That is true. And Xavier Watts, too. A stud. Mornings, Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. The Connor Happer Show.
Why do you want to shut up Greg Sankey?
Guy talks too much.
He's cool.
He compared the college football playoff to Sesame Street.
He's an elitist for his own conference, just like we are elitists for our own show, Josh.
Well,
we say this is the best show, and there is no other show that's better than this. And everybody, if you listen to other shows, you're like watching Sesame Street.
One of these things is not like the other.
Okay.
I also love cookies.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Warming up on Wednesday, expect mostly to partly sunny skies. Wind will pick up mid-morning out of the south and southwest, gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs climbing into the mid-50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Sure, you could go elsewhere for your health and wellness products, or better yet, why not just come to 42 Degrees? Those other places don't even come close to the wide variety and premium disposable e-juice, CBD, Delta, Kratom, glass pipes, vaporizers, and other great products. With the friendliest, most knowledgeable, and professional staff who will find the right products just for you. If you're looking for a one-stop shopping experience, look no further. 42 Degrees. By your mom's house.
Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
When is the best time to buy a house? The answer is now. It's always now. With interest rates creeping up, the real estate market has slowed down, except for the people that were planning on upgrading their home because of life changes. But the one thing we want to let people know is, even if you buy a house now at the higher rate, we anticipate rates to fall. That means you can buy your house now and refinance down the road. Lots of folks think waiting this out is a good strategy. The trouble is values keep rising, so waiting doesn't really help. Plus, if rates come back down, the market will just get busy again, meaning you'll be competing against more buyers with multiple offers, and you might not get the house that you want. We're seeing the market starting to get back to normal, which is a good thing for buyers and sellers.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
The Renegades. Sticks. The Jukebox Heroes. Foreigner. With very special guest, Sean Waite. August 26th, CHI Health Center, Omaha. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Sticks and Foreigner. The Renegades and Jukebox Heroes Tour.
Experience Omaha's first Indian restaurant and brewery. Jaipur has created delicious Indian food and brews, from the tandoori salmon to the chicken tikka makhani. Jaipur has something for every palate. 2 locations, Rockbrook and Dundee. Come see why Jaipur has been voted first place best of Omaha 18 years in a row.
Tailgate parties call for burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else you can slap on a bun. But those burgers, brats, dogs, and whatever else deserve the best buns. And the best buns come from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Crazy fresh, crazy delicious. So for your next party, pick some up at the bakery off 108th and Harrison or at your favorite grocery store. Fire up your grill and get ready for kickoff. Rotella's Italian Bakery, more than 100 years of tradition.
Hey, can I get a burger with some cheese, lettuce, and tomato? Thanks.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Well, can you feel it? It is the opening day of Big Ten hoops.
First team to
For
50
Nebraska.
wins.
Hey, they wouldn't mind being in that kind of game. It is an 8 o'clock game tonight at the Williams Arena, the Barn. Nebraska at Minnesota. Huskers at 7-1. Gophers are at 5-3, and have actually played a Big Ten game where they are now 0-1. Just kind of looking at this game, though, I've been talking about it.
They best win if they know what's good for them.
Well, they should. And when I say they should, that's not me having any type of false illusion of what Nebraska basketball is. In fact, in this building, I think I'm maybe one of the more on the fence, pessimistic Nebraska basketball followers right now. Although I have seen things that have me intrigued that I'm curious. And what happened on Sunday, as bad as that was, and I think we've beaten that one into the ground, what tonight
was
is
an
about,
ass kicking.
Yeah, it was. It was
an
a good old
ass-kicking.
woodshed ass whooping. That's what that was. And what we have seen in the past when Nebraska has had a game to where it's completely gone off the rails, that at times that has lingered. And that game, from an emotional standpoint, I understand its significance, but the importance for Nebraska to, as I said throughout the show, change the narrative, the importance of tonight's game is far greater. Because if you can flush that and you can come out, and I don't even care if they win by 1, if you come out and get on the road a victory right out of the gate in Big Ten play, I think that does show the maturity that I think we want to believe this team can display. Given the age of this team, this is the oldest team in the Big Ten on average age. I know what a lot of people are saying. They haven't played together. The guys that are going to have the most impact throughout the season, like a Rink Mass, like a Josiah Alec.
But therein lies the point. They need to play together.
Like a Bryce Williams. So, yes, true. But they've all played a lot of college basketball. So you can't, I don't think, throw too much at them that is going to completely take them out of their comfort zone or take them out of their personality as far as who they are and what they can contribute on this basketball team. Now,
what was it? One of you said the other day, burning the tape.
Yeah.
And
Gary brought that up. Yeah. You need to learn from that, because what they did defensively in that game was head scratching, but Minnesota is also not going to present the same type of challenges that Creighton did.
Yeah. They don't have Baylor Shireman.
No. What Nebraska hopefully will continue to do, and this is the one thing that Creighton was able to expose, but again, they could because they have multiple shooters. Nebraska needing to be tough in the paint. Okay, you've got some big guys for Minnesota, guys like Dawson Garcia and Farrell Payne. This is a team that's going to hit the glass. This is a team that's going to challenge what Nebraska can do. And that was one of the early things about the Nebraska-Creighton game that I thought allowed Creighton, that sort of started off a little slow offensively. And when I say that, they were missing some shots, but they were getting more possessions because you saw between Baylor Shireman and Ryan Kalkbrenner crashing the glass, getting second opportunities, getting offensive boards. All right, and all of a sudden, you start giving a good shooting team extra looks in a possession and extending the possession, then all of a sudden you find yourself in the type of hole that Nebraska found itself in. What Nebraska can sort of reestablish, and something as simple as keeping them off the glass. If it's a one and done, it has to be exactly that, where all of a sudden you're coming back down the floor and you're not having to play defense even, and further in that possession. That's one thing that I'm kind of looking at tonight that I think again, with what Minnesota does present, you'll be challenged from that standpoint. Now, also, the other thing that Nebraska, and it was talked about in the broadcast, and once you noticed it, you couldn't take your eyes off it. At least I couldn't. And that was when Nebraska was trying to fight through a screen, going under as opposed to over, and trying to disrupt the shooter and trying to get into his face as opposed to going under the screen. And by the time they got under, they were lost. Shooter had a good look. And as we saw, a lot of the times it was Baylor Shireman were knocking those shots down. Are they able to fight through those, fight over those, and again, be a little bit more aggressive on the perimeter? A lot of this, again, is more defensive oriented when I'm talking about Nebraska. But Gary brought up something that I am going to be having my eyes on tonight as well. I don't necessarily look at Keisei Tominaga and say, boy, he looks too big. You could tell that he's a little more put together. I think his shoulders. But I didn't see anything like with his shot.
Some chili and cinnamon rolls.
Well, and I don't see anything with his shot that makes me think, when I think of a guy that puts on maybe too much weight or too much muscle, that it's going to make their shot a little bit slower. It's going to look different. I haven't seen that with Keisei, but he did bring up something that I do think is interesting to continue to watch, and that is how involved do his teammates allow him to be? And this is where I talk about the guys not having played together, even when they went overseas this summer. Keisei wasn't part of that. Yeah, is
it like Willie Mays Hayes doing movies after Major League One?
Or again, Jimmy, is it as simple as he wasn't part of the trip because he was playing over the summer, and then he was injured for a little bit too after the exhibition where he rolled his ankle? Is there still some continuity that is being established with them? Can he be bigger part of the offensive flow? Because you do have other scores. Sure. Do you know that every possession you have now, you may not have it as much as you did the previous year, so you have to maximize it. Does that allow you to press? Because Rink Mass is going to, and quite frankly, has to get his.
That's why you got him.
I want to see Bryce Williams become more of an assassin.
And that opens things up for Keisei, because then you become that other guy, him.
Yeah. But
if he's your leading scorer, Jimmy and I talked about this Sunday, if he's your leading scorer, you probably got your butt beaten and beat well.
And I think the other part, and Gary brought this up as well, are we looking at that forward rotation between Josiah Alec and Juwan Gary? Does Alec's presence on the floor, that energy that he brings, can that also translate as a good sixth man as opposed to being a starter, where Juwan Gary gives you more of an offensive punch? He's a good defender, but gives you more of an offensive punch to where, again, you can get off to a better start and have Josiah Alec come in and be able. I don't want to say Josiah Alec is offensively challenged. He's not, but Juwan Gary is a better offensive option. That's just how it is. So, will we start to see maybe that rotation tinkered with a little bit? But there's a lot with tonight's game that is going to be interesting from a matchup standpoint, but more than anything, just the result. If they can walk out of the Williams Arena tonight with a victory, I start to become even more intrigued about this team and their ability to flush that away, to show the maturity that you hope this team will continue to show, given their age, given the amount of basketball that every guy on this roster has played. Oh, yeah, and also Ramel Lloyd. Is he even – it doesn't – actually, no, I take that back. Fred made it sound like Ramel Lloyd most likely won't be on the trip because he was coming back from an illness. So – he's probably staying away, but will we ever see him actually play some competitive minutes? Who knows? When we come back, we'll get to some of your thoughts on a lot of the different topics we had. Some emails. We got some comments, some good comments in the stream. Also, TC had a very, very good farewell to Jeff Sims. And again, if you're just joining, Jeff Sims is reportedly hitting the transfer portal.
Will he come to Nebraska? Wait, what?
Well, yeah, he's going to be never.
That's one guy who's not going.
I'm not going to say it. All right, so we'll wrap things up as we return here. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Ryan Leaf and I are set for the Patriots and the Steelers from Pittsburgh this week. Mike Tomlin's squad still in the mix for an AFC playoff spot, but fell to 7-5 last week. Can they get back on the winning track against Ezekiel Elliott and the Patriots? Join us to find out on Thursday Night Football.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now, try Babbel free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Sharp. It is game day for Omaha men's basketball, and they're in the great state of Texas, in Lubbock, Texas, to take on the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Pre-game show begins at 6:30. Tip-off is 7 o'clock for the Mavs and Texas Tech on Newstalk 1290 Coil.
This year, be sure your giving includes the Heart Ministry Center. Located at 24th and Binney, Heart Ministry Center provides food, health care, and a way forward to people severely affected by poverty in Omaha. Your donation helps make all we do possible. Please visit us online at heartministrycenter.org. You can also take a tour or volunteer. You'll see just what it means to be part of the Heart. Heart Ministry Center, dignity for all.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620.
So flight showing that Learjet will apparently be in Pullman, Washington. You know who's in Pullman, Washington? Cam Ward. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who aren't they talking to?
And the Palouse, they say it's pretty country. Hard to get to, but if you have a private plane, much easier.
At what point? Let's see. I know Dante Moore already listed his 6. Nebraska wasn't in there. Wisconsin was, though.
And they're getting a heated field, so
yeah,
you could lay down on the field.
You could probably cross him off the list as far as visits. But, yeah, Cam Ward, that's going to cost a lot. Just letting you know. That would definitely cost a lot. Just curious.
Oh, wait, we got to come up with an NIL meal deal for him, too.
Cameron Ward?
Yeah, Cam's croissants. I don't like that.
No.
Ward's
Whoever had the Chubba Pretty Good breakfast sandwich,
The
I
Ward
like that.
Wiener Schlinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it? Chubba's Pretty Good.
Chubba's Pretty Good breakfast sandwich. Because I maybe just because I'm a big fan of breakfast sandwiches, so I'm good with that.
I like breakfast in general.
I thought that was pretty
I try
good.
to eat it.
Dion wanted to know. I got to go to this. Said, will the people involved not be stingy and money grubbing and get us a damn quarterback?
Fair question, dude.
Guys, it's been 3 days and they're talking to everyone.
They all need to be here.
They're going to talk to Cameron Ward. Again, I don't know if it's like Fremont Fred is on the absolute warpath of this is all for show. They're doing this to appease the masses, saying, hey, we've done our part. We're taking
I've never
trips.
been to Magnolia.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to every quarterback and say, hey, how are you? That it's just to appease the fan base, that they have no real intention. Maybe I tend to think you're not going to waste your time doing that, given how important the quarterback position is. When you could spend that time maybe zeroing in on someone. Yeah, you're going to hear that a lot. So I mean, to Dion's question, they're going to spend. Is it going to be like top dollar? I doubt it, but I don't think they necessarily need to do that either. And again, if you're looking at some of the early predictions, if you're just joining us, there was one CBS Sports Radio insider that was predicting Kyle McCord will be Nebraska's quarterback, which it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I might be wrong. I got to mention this before we sign off, because this was, I think, a lot of heart went into this farewell from our good friend TC.
TC had jokes today.
Yes,
they were good.
It was very. This is Candle in the Wind ish. This was his farewell to Jeff Sims. Goodbye, Jeff Sims. Though I never knew you at all, you had one job: don't turn over the ball. While the offense around you always crawled, we had so much hope in how you would have balled. They whispered, "It's all right," into your brain, but the turnovers were hard to explain. Your candle burned out long before your legend ever did. Sorry that it did not work out for you, kid. In Spanish, they would say adios, amigo, but in plain English, peace out, bro. Well done, TC.
Adios, amigo, though. I see what he did there.
Yeah. Well done. Amigo. Yeah, see? TC's a sharp one.
Food.
TC's a sharp one. And he did want to make sure that he mentioned that, yes, he seemed like a good dude. We need to wish him the best in all of his future endeavors. Yeah. I don't know how much to go
Watch
food from Amigos he can load up in that in the farm equipment. Yeah, don't forget he had the
imagine the meltdown if he goes somewhere and he's suddenly like, wait, who? How's this happen?
Did he have it was a Kubota deal, wasn't it? Was it a Kubota or I don't know, it was one of the tractors.
It was Acres.
Oh, that's right. It was Acres. There you go. Yeah.
There's a John Deere. Maybe the argument here is he should have been a Case IH guy.
Yeah, that could be.
Go to Nebraska. You need to be Team Red.
You could be in the Case IH Red Zone. Yeah. Did they still do the Case IH Red Zone?
It depends on the school. I know when
Nebraska used to.
I know when I've done games on Learfield, I had it memorized.
Yeah.
Except I was doing Kansas football during the Les Miles era, so I did not get to say Case IH Red Zone once.
That's no good.
Because the one touchdown, or they had two touchdowns in that game. One of them was a long pass. The other one was a kickoff return at the end of the game.
Yeah, it was Case IH Red Zone for a while. I don't know if it still is. And then Kubota used to be the leadoff hitter for Nebraska baseball. It'd be the leadoff. Yeah.
Oh, the time and temperature is to be brought to you by the parking spot at KCI. Easy to park, easy to spot. The parking spot at KCI.
Very well. Very well done. My buddy John hits us up on the Equibank inbox. Says, Ward turns the ball over almost as much as Sims. Hard pass for me.
Is that right hand? You know what? If quarterbacks are going to turn over, there's a bakery NIL waiting to be had.
And Chris, even we were talking about bowl games, those 15 practices, Chris chimes in with, what are these bowl games you speak of?
As someone who has been to one last year and is going again, they are fun.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
You usually see friends and you converse and socialize and consume a lot.
Yeah, that's true. All right, that is going to do it for us. We got the crossover coming up. A big thank you to our guests on the show today, Matt DeMarinis, Evan Bland. We've got all of our best up on the radio replay. Well, all of it up on the radio replay. Tomorrow, John Schreiner's going to be coming in as well.
I like him.
We'll be talking to Sip.
I like him too.
Yes. And a guest or two.
Brian Edwards.
There you go. We're going to make some money. I had to remember it's Thursday, right? Okay. Sounds good. All right. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Connor Happer Show coming up next with the crossover. For Jimmy, I'm Nick. We appreciate you tuning in to Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.